the community about it, you would probably get more people showing up. Because even, like, I'll mention it when I was going a couple of years ago, but people would be like, they're gonna go up morning, so I'm like, yeah, I heard Monday through Friday, and people just put no idea.
Yeah.
So,
Discussion about promotion of park and rec type. Anyone else? Yeah, Abby.
Start my thought here.
Huh.
So I'm here to speak on behalf of the library, and I know, everybody knows how many programs they have. They're not just for kids. There's so many adult programs, lunch and learn, book club, social programs for people who don't generally get out, yoga, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to take a quick survey of the council and the mayor. So how many of you on the council have attended programs at the library? How many of you have checked out books?
Books.
How many of you?
Movies, books.
Do you have kids that go there? Do you have any kids that are in the programs?
Probably more than.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, unless you go there on a regular basis, it concerns me that we have a council that may not understand the value of the library to the community, that have not experienced everything it brings to the community. So I guess I'm asking you to listen to the library committee and with an open mind and with the idea that they are then the experts on this. They've provided data, they've provided research, why we need a new library, how we compare it to other towns our size, if not bigger. And so listen to the experts on this. I wouldn't go up to the water waste treatment plan and say, no, I don't think you need this, because I'm not the expert, but I would listen to the people who are. So I think it's very important to do that. And I don't think they're asking for the world. I don't think they're trying to scam the city. And it's not just about more books. You know, we have people still living in the poverty line, below the poverty line in Slater. Those computer labs, the things we could do to teach our elderly citizens or senior citizens about computers and things like that. There's so many more things that a bigger library could do for us that would build a bigger community and bring more people to our community, because of those are things that people are looking for now, those amenities. So just, you know, listen with an open mind. And I think that with the great minds we have up here, let's figure out a solution to this. Let's figure out a way forward. Let's get a steady commitment from the city to get this done, whether it be monetary or assistance in helping develop the plan or whatever it is. But I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. Anyone else here to speak? Okay. We will go ahead and move through our agenda. The consent agenda here. This would be the time now to review those items, and any questions are welcome at this point. But looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as provided to everyone. Is there questions about items in the consent agenda?
One, Lindsay, you there's the way down the expenses, you have software for $5,000. I suppose I should remember that from my various census.
Oh,
Water. Reading
Oh,
on the iPad and all that.
like I said, I should remember.
It's on the side of your house on the white box.
That's what I.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Last chance for any discussion or questions?
The only other question I have is on the adding the Slater to the art harvest tour. I think it's a great idea. The only concern I had was I think a lot of the other stops have a ton of art. And I guess maybe I'm showing my line. Or we have a lot of art to add to the.
Can I address that? Because
Yeah.
we're,
Absolutely.
the museum is making itself available for Slater artists and artists of this area to gather. And that is also the same weekend as the junking tour. So we're going to have a lot of people in town, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, good. I just wanted a good message for the town instead of people coming for art and saying, there's no art here.
Well, and there is also, the mural community met the other day. And we're aiming to have the ribbon cutting of the mural that weekend with all the artists in town. And so you can talk to me
Cool.
afterwards if you.
Thanks, Eddie.
Artists in a town with no art could be a good thing for a town with no art. But great question. All those in favor signify with the sign aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? We've got some representatives from the Story County Raising Readers here today. So if you folks would like to go ahead and speak to the residents in attendance, you're welcome to at this time.
Would you like to read the proclamation first?
Yeah, sure.
You have it?
Is this it right here? I'm making my first proclamation. In my packet. Yes, sure. I'd gladly read the proclamation. Let me get to that page in the agenda. Thank you.
It wasn't in my packet.
I have a printed form of it.
Yeah,
You
if
might
you
need-
have it handy. All right, here's my proclamation. Month of the Young Child. Whereas the first years of a child's life are the period of the most rapid brain development and lay the foundation for all future learning. And whereas children are born with a genetic blueprint, but it is interactions with caring adults, peers, and their environment that shape their language and literacy, cognitive, social, emotional, and physical development. And whereas parents and caregivers are children's first teachers, and whereas high-quality early childhood programs prepare children to succeed in school, to earn higher wages, and to live healthier lives. And whereas communities share the responsibility, along with parents and educators, for nurturing and educating children. And whereas Story County policies and investments that support families, caregivers, and early childhood programs are essential to help transform young children's lives. Therefore, I, Taylor Christensen, Mayor of City of Slater, Iowa, do hereby proclaim April 2026 as the month of the young child, and do hereby urge all citizens to recognize that by investing in our children today, we are securing the collective future of our community. Yes, thank you.
Hi, I'm Chuck Galarski. I'm from Ames Morning Rotary, and thank you for adopting this proclamation. We do believe that reading is the backbone of education. And so it's nice to hear that you have a library. We want you to know that we started a program 20 years ago. And in that 20 years, every time that a child comes to the physician's office, in addition to getting their checkup and to getting maybe a shot, they get a free book. And we've given out over 30,000 books in those 20 years. And so sometimes children don't like to go to the doctor because they're gonna get a shot, but they do like to go because they know they're gonna get a free book. And so I'm from the Rotary Club, and these gals are readers. I'll talk a little bit.
Oh, yeah. We're here, we're partnering with Ames Morning Rotary to do this county-wide initiative of focusing on that 0 to 5-year-old. And our initiative is called Anytime is 3 T's Time. Tune in, talk more, and take turns. And I'm going to have to make a comment about the library too. Libraries are fabulous places for this to happen, and for parents and caregivers to find out about this happening. And I've known Jennifer for a long time, and I know this is a fantastic library. And the community very much appreciates it. So tune in, talk more, take turns, and Becky's got some things.
These posters, we've left several of them with the city clerk. The idea for them is to distribute them, if you would please, around your various public places like here or at the library, or if you have a food pantry or anything like that. We hope that those might be distributed. We've also left some of these cards that talk about the same program. It is a nationwide campaign called 3 T's. And on both the poster and the card, there's a QR code. And when any citizen of parent caregiver goes to the QR code, it takes them to a free online source, doesn't cost you a thing, where on that there's fun little videos and different educational tips that parents and caregivers of young children can utilize in their daily life without changing their lifestyle at all. But by utilizing these tips and tricks that they learn on there, they literally boost their baby's brain power. And so we encourage people to take advantage of the poster and the cards that we've left with the clerk and check these out. We at Raising Readers look forward to working with Slater. We're in Slater. We've been doing this in every town in the town. it's later to learn more about your community so that we have the hopes to be able to work with you, work with your library, work with your community to bring more literacy to your community to make Slater an even better place to raise your little citizens. And we thank you for your time and look forward to working with you.
Thank you for being here.
If you want to check us out, we're at the North Grand Mall as well. Got our office of that. Let's do first time.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being here. The Story County Sheriff's update. I don't think anything to report. We haven't heard anything.
We have, it's in the packet.
Okay, perfect. Jerry, we'll turn it to you then.
Yeah, the first top item is the adoption of the fiscal year 27 budget. And I want to thank the department heads of all the departments and the city council for participation in that process. We started that process back in November. Several different meetings, there was a lot of good input, and through everybody's participation, we were able to put together a budget that is balanced with a surplus. It does not include the capital projects though, so if we, throughout fiscal year 27, if we do have capital projects, it would require an amendment to that budget. As was stated, we have the work group on the library project. I want to thank them for all the work that they've done on that, that I also participated in, and we've got a presentation for the city council. The city council approved at the last meeting to work with Marshall County to have our haulers take the solid waste material to the Marshall County landfill. And their board will be acting on that agreement with the city at the May 19th meeting. And tonight we're asking the council to allow staff to send out an RFP to all the local haulers to solicit their interest in working with residents and the leadership in providing a recycling curbside program. So that's another item that's on the agenda. We received responses from 3 firms interested in participating in the comprehensive plan update process. We are asking city council to either have a special meeting to hear presentations from the 3 firms and organizations, or to have the policy and admin committee meet with staff to hear the presentations, and then we would have a recommendation at the next city council meeting, which would be May 18. We're working through an adoption on an ordinance for mobile food trucks. We started with a couple of business owners on Main Street, and we're ready to segue now to meeting with the policy and admin committee. And I think tentatively we're looking at this Wednesday at 2 p.m. To continue reviewing that ordinance. Kelsey, the pool manager's working pretty hard. She's working on Thursday afternoons so that she can be here in person to answer questions with regard to signing up for pool lessons, passes, rentals. And she's set up interviews for all the staff that we're going to be taking on this week. Mark gave me an update. They're working on some jetting of existing tile that I think probably was a farm tile before it became a park, Earl Grimm Park. And they ran into some issues with some trees that have actually penetrated through the tile. So there's a possibility that they may have to install a new drain tile that would be east-west to drain some of the water that's from some of the residences that are located just east of the park. So that's what I have for you tonight. Be happy to answer any questions.
Barbecue project, I didn't know where we're standing on that. Taylor, you sent us an update today, but we had some adjustments to the loan form. Then I kind of went in limbo. I didn't know where that stood.
Yeah, I sent her a copy of the draft
Okay.
agreement that has not been approved.
Okay.
And then asked her to complete the application along with the submittal information.
Okay.
But I think it's a work in progress for the most part.
I think the update that I shared with you guys today is the most recent I have.
All right. I just didn't know if that was 2 things separate or what was going on. Sounds like.
I think they're kind of hand in hand, I guess, yeah.
All right.
I think the intent is still to execute the agreement.
They're very still.
Before that happens, before, upon their execution, it'd be right back at this desk for us to finalize.
Also looking forward to past years, Joel probably knows this better than I do. It seems like in June, we suddenly said, oh, we gotta do employee adjustments, and there wasn't a lot of goals, reviews of that whole process. At least I didn't feel very comfortable with it versus how I was used to doing business. So, with it already being April, didn't know if we were in process. I know there's formal goals out there for employees, but applied and doing reviews.
Yeah, we're planning on doing performance evaluations
Okay.
prior to the adoption of the cost of living. So that'll be something that we'll be working on.
Okay, good. I just want to make
We have
sure.
an expectation that all the department heads would be.
We kind of came to us late. We didn't really have a lot of thought. We just said, it's June, we have to do it. Good, thank you for that. The street project in one of your weekly updates, said something about maybe resurfacing R38 and picking the R38 project down the road until after the roundabout. Wondered if there was more.
Yeah, we've got a meeting set up with Snyder and Associates and Public Works staff to talk about the project.
Okay,
I think at the last meeting, the directive was to work with Snyder's on possible funding options to the project.
okay. I didn't know based on, like, so one of your comments was about resurfacing as a short term. Until after the traffic circle, and
Right.
since CIP's on the agenda later, I wanted to figure out.
That's gonna be something that's gonna be discussed,
Okay, all right,
but it'll be definitely brought back to council.
okay. I'm just trying to figure out where we're at on progress. And the last one, you sent an email. I didn't want to respond back to the whole group, so I was just gonna help us today. The High Trestle Trail badge and top 10.
Yeah, was that you, Julie, that had a question about it?
I don't know how much it would cost us, like. We would be able to put on all the literature and everything that our trail runs through here, and then it's the top 10 trails in the world, right, or in the United States.
US Best,
There's
yeah.
interest.
US Best.
Yeah, I think it was US Best.
So I was curious how much it would actually cost for us to have the rights to use that.
But it was one of the things, it was digital was $1,000 and print was $1,000, and if you wanted digital and print it was 1,500. I just didn't know enough about it, and I didn't know if I was supposed to have an informed opinion. It sounds smart to me to, keep our name in the lights and all, but I didn't know, it's a reputable outfit. I don't know enough about it.
I can put that on the agenda for action.
I didn't have a thought about it. I mean, yeah,
It was one of the top 10.
Right, it
trails.
superficially it seemed important, but I don't know who the company is and whether it's a guy's basement. I don't know where that is.
I could put it on the
Company that rates them then gets the rights to use the logo for it,
Okay.
is what it amounts to.
Said superficially, it may look good. I just didn't know how I was supposed to respond or if I was supposed to respond at all. So,
Yeah, well, and again, if there's interest from the council, I can put it on the agenda and you can provide
Okay.
more information.
go for it.
Yeah.
that would be my
I'll do
opinion
it.
is, yeah,
Let's
find
do
out about it. Seemed like a good idea to me without being well informed.
Not trail signs.
And that was it. Thank you.
The food truck ordinance, will that come to us prior to being on council agenda, or? Will it just be on a council agenda for approval after it goes through policy and admin?
Well, the next step is policy and admin is gonna review it, but it'll definitely come back to city council.
It'll be on the agenda, and at that time, if there's recommended changes or desired changes, then
I just wanted to make sure it would be discussed instead of. just-
Yeah, likely at the May 18th meeting.
it'll have to come through us to be official. And there'll actually be a hearing process because it will actually be an ordinance.
Yep.
So we'll actually go through 3 different readings or we can waive at that point.
So yeah, AJ, being new, Julie and I are on right now. I was on a little bit last year with Jerry, and what we're trying to do is do some of the scut work in the background before it goes to the council and maybe shorten the meetings up a little bit.
Nope. Sounds good. Just wanted to see if we review it, so.
Yep, there's nothing we can do that
Right.
doesn't take all 5.
Right.
Outstanding. Is there any council updates? No, I provided a written, yeah, go ahead.
Question for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do an overall update, I'll wait.
Go ahead.
Where do we stand on the ballot baseball? Did something get signed?
It's not been signed yet. Two board members have reached out to me with a commitment that they will adjust the renewal terms, but ask that we would execute the current agreement. I haven't signed it yet. The direction has been that the school feels that they can't put it back on their agenda because they've already approved it, and then that would set a precedent that they renegotiate any contract, which. So I think the question really lies with. Do we want to go in good faith and execute execute the agreement with the verbal commitment, which I'll put in writing if we return it, that they will add the renewal terms at the renewal. Is kind of where it's sitting right now. They're obviously using the field. We've obviously put money into the field.
Okay,
That's where it sits at the moment.
so liability to us having an unsigned contract, I'm assuming is
It was
limited because
We had decades, we've had
Right.
decades of no contract.
you've
So I
had
think,
your, they don't use it, so now that they are, if something bad happened, like that says that.
It's probably on us, yeah.
Liability's on them, not.
In either way, we have some of that, but.
Yeah.
I think it just comes down to the question of do we wanna. Take some board members at their word and say, we understand what you're saying, we disagree, but we'll play nice and do that. And move on. And demand it at the next turn.
I remember the language, the one that is in their hands right now says that all power is in their hands, not ours. And that,
In a gray way, yeah.
yeah.
There was word that's added by staff that say that it's a joint negotiation. And they have operated, I think, mostly in good faith, about all of that, so. That's a very torn kind of spot to be in, really. They do intend to, I think the public will be hearing that they intend to pursue a bond in November of 2027. For multiple projects to be determined.
Yep.
So I would expect more information this summer about that.
Not that you need as the man, but. I agree with your position, not necessarily signing. a
Yeah,
contract or not comfortable with.
It's very difficult. Deputy Lentz, thanks for being here. Glad to see you back.
I guess I misinformed. I thought it was 6:30, not 6. I'm a
No
little late.
worries.
Yeah, I'm kind of back. I'll start patrolling another week or so.
Awesome.
Back.
It's good to see you. I don't think there's much on our radar right now. We've seen you guys I see your presence a little more than what I'm used to seeing, so staffing numbers must be a little better right now. Or somebody commutes through here on their way, I think,
We're
right?
still low. Me and another deputy are out, and then we have two more we just hired that are gonna start tomorrow too. So we're still a little low, but I think there's been much more of a push to get town time. I think the numbers kind of reflect that too, from what I'm seeing. So
Awesome. Well, we
definitely trying to get
appreciate,
in town more.
yeah, we appreciate that. Presence means a lot, at deterring a lot of things that we don't know about, so appreciate it.
Anything else for?
I don't think so. No, thank you for
All
coming.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
Good to see you. Deputy Lentz is good because he lives in the school district too, if you didn't know. So he's a Huxley resident, so it's nice to have somebody local on the department. So that's where I'm sitting right now on the contract. I gave you the update about the one economic development project. I can tell you the bakery's moving forward. They're grinding floors today to start their epoxy process. All their permits been approved. I would blow my mind if they don't meet their deadline of opening by the 4th of July. So that's exciting. We're kind of having some staff met with Brenda, who's here. I know about the response to a proposal for the RFP for 321. I kind of am working on a couple different angles right now. I don't know if you saw the news, but a similar organization in the Des Moines Metro just closed down unexpectedly. So I'm working on a little pool of some of the smaller shops, entrepreneurs, to try to engage in a little bit more dialogue about the theory and the opportunity in that building, to expand on what the RFP respondent talked about. to see if we can't kind of formulate maybe a group of individuals from that group that would maybe be investors and want to partner and figure out how to make that concept work that was presented to us. I talked to two different people today, so we're kind of just rolling with it, trying to get something to come out of that, because it's a great idea and a good concept. I think it just lacked the Economic Development Committee, their proposal lacked a financial commitment or stake from the RFP respondents standpoint. So, but there's several high quality entrepreneurs that have been displaced and are looking for a home, trying to see if there can't be some synergy and some investment from those people as more of a collective for it. So that's where we sit on that.
If that moves along, I had a guy call me out of blue, used to work with him, and he was more interested in the middle section.
Yeah,
If that starts to shape up, maybe there'd be a way to
yeah,
get 2 out of 3 sections.
I think definitely. And I think that's the beauty of the space. So we'll hopefully have some more back before we meet next time.
And I told him to call
A
for a
response. Perfect.
Be a call for him.
Yeah, we're happy to show it. I know Jerry showed it a lot, so anytime.
2 times.
Okay, we got a long list. Is there anything else? Anybody? Let's move into the business items. We're gonna start a public hearing here on fiscal year budget 27. We're gonna open the public hearing now at 6:31 PM. And we'll do a roll call for that public hearing.
Julie Weeks here, AJ Strumper,
Here.
Joel Newman.
Here.
Russ Turner.
Here.
Craig Conley.
With that said, we're now open to the public's comment related to our agenda or to our budget. Is there individuals on the meeting or participants that would like to speak regarding the budget? Did we receive any written comments or information via the city related to the budget?
Nope.
Okay. If the clock will turn, we will close the public hearing in just a second here. Nobody has anything? All right. It is going to be 6:32 now, and we'll close the public hearing on the fiscal year 27 budget. Now we get to return back into regular, so we'll go ahead and do another roll call. Everybody's
Julie Weeks,
Here.
AJ Strumper,
Here.
Joel Newman,
Here.
Russ Turner.
Here.
Craig Conley.
Sure.
And this is where we open up for the discussion and consideration of the council relating to the fiscal year budget 27. Questions?
Not a question, a comment. Some of the folks here know how much work I used to put into budget, and it's been a lot easier this year. Thank you, Jerry and Lindsay.
Appreciate
Nice that we
that.
have
Appreciate that
surplus.
feedback. Okay. If there's nothing, then we'd obviously accept the motion here for resolution 42 to approve the fiscal year 27 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Anything else from anyone? All those in favor, please signify with the sign aye. Opposed? And any abstentions? Perfect. We're moving now into the ordinance and resolutions. It's time for the second consideration of ordinance 315, which is adding the peddler and solicitors agreement or ordinance. At this stage, the option would be available to waive the second and conduct the third for this. I did have one question, ironically, that happened on Sunday. Are representatives of a nonprofit or a church governed underneath this?
I think they're exempt.
Governed underneath, do they have an exemption through state law? It would make sense, but I just,
I thought it was actually in the code.
It was in that ordinance.
Okay. Perfect, okay, I
Yeah.
don't recall that part, but I got solicited in my yard on Sunday, and so I was wondering, it just made me think, which wasn't a big deal, it just.
And I didn't reread it this time, but I remember the first time I read it, I got there, it's like, wait, what about all the volunteer stuff?
Yeah.
The next paragraph.
They were just after Taylor and after that.
Somebody thought I needed a religious talk or
I
something.
got
I
a
don't know.
guy.
I was in the yard. Would you guys like to waive the, what are you laughing about, Jamal?
Nothing at all. Nothing at all, man.
Would you like to,
Oh, sure, yeah,
would you
make
guys
a
like to waive
motion
the second?
Yeah, let's waive the second and go right to the third. Make a motion for that. On ordinance 315.
This-
second that.
Perfect. So
I'm
this,
still just playing that in my mind.
this will
how that
be,
would go.
this will be the final then. Because this is an ordinance, we'll actually roll call vote this. So, Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind calling the roll.
Julie Weeks,
I,
AJ Strumford,
Yes.
Joel Newman.
Aye.
Russ Turhart, Craig Conley.
Aye.
Outstanding. That ordinance carries unanimously. We're gonna move to number B here. This is second consideration of ordinance 317, amending C1, C2 and M1 zoning district uses. This was just the alignment, right? If you remember. So, is there any comments on it, or we're seeking a motion, with the option here to approve the second consideration of it, or to waive the second and conduct the third?
Has there been any pushback from anyone? I'm fine switching to the third as long as nobody's seemed concerned.
Perfect. I got the motion from Julie, and there has been no feedback. It was simultaneous, but there has been no feedback
Or waiving the second.
received. She's waiving the second and doing the third.
Yep, she's good with it.
And Joel just seconded it, is what I'm interpreting.
Yeah. Second.
Last chance for discussion. We'll do a roll call vote because it is an ordinance.
Julie Weeks,
I,
AJ Strumford,
Aye.
Joel Newman,
Aye.
Russ Turhart,
Aye.
Craig Conley.
Aye.
We're gonna move now into the unanimous again here. The second consideration of ordinance 318, change in zoning for property at 201 North Carroll Street. This is another one where the ability would be to waive the second. And conduct the third. This is the property out on the bike trail in the northwest corner kind of town. Or the west end of First Ave.
Yeah.
Sure, I'd welcome either a motion to conduct the second or to waive the second
I'll
and
make a
conduct the
motion to
third.
waive the second and conduct the third reading of ordinance 318 and approve it.
second,
I still have my concern that it's moving residential into commercial. So, but I
Okay,
think that was a singular opinion, and somebody else had differently.
okay, we've got both the motions. We'll roll call this as well.
Julie Weeks,
I,
AJ Strumford, Joel Newman,
Aye.
Russ Turhart,
Aye.
Craig Conley.
Nay.
We'll move into D here now. This is just discussion and consideration, resolution 43. This is the final product, or not the final until you approve, but the proposed final draft of the incentive program. It has been through policy and admin, it has been through economic development, and it's been through legal. We're seeking a motion here to approve that resolution 43 with the program
And for the full review.
as deliberated multiple times.
Still moved.
Second.
Second, any other comment?
Questions. I was concerned with, one question we had, what the question, the statement that ours was very aggressive and unique versus the surrounding four counties. I'm aligned with aggressive, trying to develop business here. As long as we're not excessively aggressive, and I guess I don't have a benchmark as to it. And inviting outside comments to that, but I don't want to be more aggressive, have to be able to be the correct balance.
I would just reiterate on this, you're just approving a program, you're not approving the incentive dollar amounts. So the aggressiveness in my mind would be tied to the amount of incentive, the financial dollars tied to it. You're not necessarily guaranteeing or approving any of that now, and council would oversee and approve any of that in any future scenario.
Agreed, but we're making suggestions in here with the scoring system and the dollars associated with that. So I just wanted to fully understand what that unique and aggressive, what that meant. Were we too aggressive?
Who said that?
You got the email in your packet from now.
Who said that, Jerry? Do you remember?
That was
It's not in the packet.
I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah, it was in the packet.
Brenda?
Brenda.
Who said it? Economic development?
refresh my memory of the.
Yeah, I'm assuming you were coming from, that's a really positive thing if you're chasing economic development.
It's done other communities and so. Yes.
More so than it needs to be.
No, I think it's
it's a good investment. We still have the opportunity up or down it, but. Yeah, there is, Huxley has a program capped at 30,000 and that's, but yeah, no, it's just. There isn't a lot of programs like you guys have in terms of. Working with prospective business, so. Yeah, it's. Not
Trying-
aggressive in terms of doing crazy things, but something you should be. Proud of the fact that you've got programs in place to support.
Okay, I just wanna make sure we use,
Refreshing my memory on that, right?
yep, I wanna make sure we use the people in this room's money wisely, not
Yeah.
too aggressively, and I wanted to understand what your aggressive comment meant.
Yeah, no, but it's, there's not actually, even Ames doesn't have a whole lot of programs available to sports.
Yes.
Any other question?
When Julie and I had met with Lindsay and Jerry on the point system. And thank you for correcting the one oversight we had. The over 75 points. We had talked about, we had originally had a dollar figure in there of 150,000. And now it doesn't have a number at all for a suggested maximum. It now says low interest loan as opposed to zero interest. And I think the other ones said no interest. So I didn't remember that. And we'd also mentioned tax abatement as a this and or this. And right now, tax abatement isn't listed here. I don't know if tax abatement is available from a different area altogether.
We added the term taxable one too, and I know it did.
It's not in the draft that was attached.
Yeah, use of scores, it says tax abatement right there. The total score informs but does not solely determine the city's decision to award incentives. Final approval rests with the city council and subject to their discretion, which may consider supplemental factors, including but not limited to budget constraints, unique project attributes, tax abatement, and precedent setting implications.
I was on the use of the scores, that section. 76.
Includes guidelines for consistency in that section. Is that what you're reading off of?
Yeah, I was on the 76 plus section. The
Yeah.
last page.
I don't think it's restricting that you can't do that. I think.
Yeah.
And tax abatement would be more of a city council approval thing. I think the economic development would recommend, like in the last one, we recommended, hey, provide tax abatement in addition to what we're recommending, because we think it's a great project. But I think ultimately this council holds the ultimate authority over that.
Well, I didn't know where tax abatement came from in the grander scope. Is it part of this? Is it something entirely separate?
It would be a totally separate program, and we
Okay.
have that set up via in our ordinances. It's part of our code. There's a code, and our tax abatement aligns with this it's the state code. Is in order to qualify for some state level incentives, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brenda, your city code mirrors what the state abatement schedule is, and that way you kind of
Yep.
are at the right level is what we follow.
I just didn't know where that. How someone would know that we are amenable to
Yeah.
tax abatement. I didn't know if it was in this policy or just be somewhere else.
Nope, it's somewhere else, but it'd be like the facade grant as well, right? Same kind of thing, just another economic tool that's out there that this committee should know about and recommend when makes sense, but ultimately it'd go through a different avenue for approval
Okay,
than this incentive.
okay,
And again, recommending body to you.
all right. And again, Jerry, I didn't know so again, it's that 76 plus. I think elsewhere in the document it says a no interest loan, and on this one it says low interest. And that seemed a bit conflicting, because I thought this was a zero interest loan.
You had use of scores.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's
usage
it.
was the last
It
one.
says low interest, which I would consider zero low. Does it fall under that versus just calling out specifically
I
zero?
think elsewhere it says no, when you guys know I had to read documents, so
We can.
it's a tippy tappy.
We can change that.
Yeah.
Refresh my memory on this program. Do we have a specific line item that this thing tracks? Or is it just coming?
Budget, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a program in my experience. It's always been based on funding available and based on the funds available. When we budget based on it, I think in the budget, we put money in for what has somewhat been committed. But anytime we review these and look at these, there is a line item for it, but anytime we review these and look at these, I think the same way with capital projects. we're looking at them understanding that it comes from
Okay.
the capital fund.
So
Should we utilize it?
Includes the
That's what's put in there.
But I need to trace around 100,000.
There'll be an amendment before the end of the year to rectify that.
I just wanted to make sure that we were tracking this somewhat so we could see going up and down, how much money we're actually,
There's a,
I don't wanna say giving away, but using.
there's an Excel also too. So the other thing is the fund is technically a regenerative fund at this point.
Right.
So there's revenue coming in from loans that are outstanding and then approving. So there is a document out there, AJ, that exists that shows all the existing funds.
I have that.
Okay. So that's out there. So that should be backfilling the economic development fund, but you could always spend faster than you earn. So.
I just see what's going in there is all we spend, but. You know, I feel like
Yeah.
now we've got enough out there that if we're paying this back. I would rather not see that going down faster.
Yeah, for sure.
Having to do amendments all the time.
In a perfect world, it's just it's the hard thing of economic development is you don't know who's gonna show up at the door.
Yeah.
When and with what, and you try to be as prepared as you can, and we're pretty
Well,
blessed
that kind of
here.
gives us, even with this grading schedule, it says right in there, budget constraints. So we can.
We can say that we just don't have the budget to fund.
Along accordingly, so. I just wanted to make sure it was tracked, that involved, and a separate line item, not just general. So.
It has a separate fund, yeah.
And in line with your comment, Dave, I was wondering, we should go back and some of the previous projects and sort of them using this table. And then connect that as a permanent record right on it, but if we grant, so that we have a defensive position. And I kind of did it myself, but I want somebody else to do it. And you just see if this passes the common sense test, if we do, you know, home needs and the barbecue place and the daycare. And get all those into a common file like you're referring to, but also have the scores and what we
Yeah.
actually did, so that. If somebody says, why'd you give it to them, didn't give it to me, we have a leg to stand on, because here's our scores, and we kept them all separate.
That was definitely the objective and recommendation I think that Julie made was you can start to build a database of what the project was, what the award was, and what the score was, and use it as a guidance.
But I was
The
just,
two most recent could easily be scored that way
yep, and I think it might be a good idea, because
by the committee.
when I tried to do it myself, obviously it's subjective, not very
Yeah.
actual. It had some surprising outcome numbers. So Jerry, Lindsay, it might be worth you guys running the scores and see what you think.
If I recall, we had two motions already,
Mhm.
and so we'll call the vote on that. All those in favor signify with the sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And anybody abstaining? Discussion consideration of resolution number 44, ordering construction on the 2026 wastewater treatment plant improvements project and setting date of public hearing thereon and taking bids, data bid opening 2 PM, data hearing 5/18 at 6 PM. So this is what we've already kind of approved. To move forward, Mark Land is here, thankfully. Appreciate you being here. Is there questions related to this? This would be a standard practice for bidding the project, but is there questions related to that?
You guys know I have a couple questions, but they've already been asked and answered. But as this is a capital project, have we talked to Sheldon? Because per our agreement with them, capital projects on Lagoon, they pay a portion of, not in the operating, but in the capital component. And I don't know where this one fits. It's a odor problem, so it's ours, it's a lagoon problem, so it's both of ours. We need to have a position so that we're fair to Sheldon involved in this, because they'd have to, if we decide it's also theirs, that's a part of capital. They're part of the process.
I would just ask back a question to that. Does the answer to that question change the way you would vote based on this item on the agenda?
No,
Then I think we should vote on it because it is gonna be a topic. They do know this is coming. They were here and they were told we were working on an odor thing. I would imagine that there will be deliberation and discussion about this cost when it comes up, just based on what their annual cost is and what their percentage cost of this would be.
yeah, but the capital is different than the annual.
I'm sure there will be deliberation and debate about it, but regardless of their involvement or participation, I do think we are gonna take this action, or the direction has been. We wanna be forthcoming and transparent with them about it.
Agreed. And
but it's different issue kind of.
Joel knows the history better than I do, but I think it was a shock to them how far we were down the path with the original project. And I don't want to have lawyers involved again.
I'm not as worried about that. I think there'll be,
This time,
huh?
I don't think that'll happen this time.
I don't think it will, but I do think
there a
there'll be
percentage
pushback
that we
related to
share?
it. There is a percentage
I've
share.
never seen that document.
It's in the wastewater treatment contract.
Yeah.
We calculate the operating share and then there is an agreement
Is
share.
that how this agreement, this next discussion item is set? That's where the.
No, this is another item.
It's all in that
Just the
contract.
treatment of their waste.
Yeah.
There's the operating expense and the capital.
Capital.
Both in the same document.
It will be a topic of discussion because it is very unclear as to what the responsibility of odor is in terms of the requirement for the
Secondary standard.
facility.
Yeah.
And so there will be, they should question us and they will, and we'll have to navigate that.
It's kind of like a
Then-
secondary standard violation.
Yeah.
Technically by Iowa DNR standards, you actually do have a leg to stand on, because DNR could come in and say. you
Yeah.
fix it.
And then I think it comes down to, well, it's not us causing it, is it you guys? And we get back into that, which we'll just have to deliberate as we can. But I think regardless, it is our facility and our residents have asked us to deal with it. So knowing that it's not gonna change, at the end of the day, it doesn't change what our action is gonna be. We're gonna have to cross that bridge. It is coming. They were told we were spending a rough number.
The city council approved the project at the last meeting.
Yeah, it's just.
I just want to make sure we have good communication so we don't get into a.
They know about it. They were told face to face, 2 council members, the mayor and the clerk in that conference room.
Okay.
By me.
Okay. Good. I just want to.
With Mark Estrom here and
It was before my time. I don't want to have that messy situation.
we're doing the best we can.
Make a motion to approve resolution 44, please.
Second.
Last chance for any discussion. All those in favor signify with the sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And any abstentions? Number E, discussion and consideration of resolution 45 addressing city of Sheldon financial contribution. Here's the deal, we're doing things a little more formal this year. It was recommended, Lindsay and Sheldon's clerk both agreed that it would be logical for us to pass a resolution on an annual basis to document and keep track of what the amount paid is. So there's a better record of what was approved or done in a more formal manner versus emails back and forth and he said, she said. So this is just the formal what they're gonna pay. I believe the way that we settled is they're basically paying their percentage as calculated by the contract in the dry period, but they're paying that based on actual costs from the most recent finalized and reconciled budget year. So that would be for the last year's budget that's completed. We know what the actual operating costs were. Their 2027 payments will be based on what was actual costs from that year. And then next year, they'll pay the actual costs of this year versus a budgeted number, which I think we've done in the past, which didn't make a lot of sense. Everybody was amicable to that. So if there's any questions, please ask them, but otherwise we're looking for the motion to approve this resolution here. Second from Russ. We'll get him in the minutes so that everybody knows he was here. He was engaged. He was engaged. before he was here. He was roll called, but he was engaged. Now he's engaged. All those in favor signify with the sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Discussion section, moving into discussion and consideration, new library building project. Scott, I know you're here as the library board president. You have a team of people here. You guys are planning to present? Yep. Yes? All right. Outstanding. If you're on this bottom.
Try and get there slowly. Yeah. There you go.
All right, I think I get to start us off. For those of you here who don't know me, my name's Jennifer Gogarty and I am the director here at the library. I've been here now for over 15 years. And we've now been working on this project for over 8 years, so. Oh, 7, yay. All right, so, the last few months, we were asked to put together a building committee work group. The members are all up there, everyone has been working
on all of the research that you're going to see tonight over the last few months. I think everybody is here tonight, with the exception of Tiffany, who is working in New Jersey, but maybe online with us, not presenting, but. All right, so just a brief project history for those of you who don't know. This project started way back in 2018. At that time, the city council launched the idea of a new library and community center. It was a group thing. The library used a grant to complete a space needs assessment at that time. The council used a $75,000 donation from the community club to purchase land, where the council was the one who decided where to put that, and they decided at that time to purchase land at 405 Main Street. And then a building committee was formed from there. So there were several years, a lot of things that happened in a very short period of time right away with doing designs and having a lot of community input onto what those designs were. So right as we were getting going with our fundraising, COVID hit. So we had a pause, as the world did, for about a year. We started back up then in 2021 with a lot of fundraising, grant research. Found out, of course, as things were getting more expensive everywhere, that the building design was going to be much more expensive than when we did it just a year prior, 2 years prior. So we've had a lot of things happen since then. We've had 3 bonds that I think everybody knows about. I think one thing that is important to note with that is that every time we had a majority vote, but we did not have the super majority that was needed. So it was always a matter of coming back to the council and deciding, what do we do now? And every single time we were told to continue and go forward again. And every time it was a little bit more, but we never reached the super majority. In that time, we are now at $1.2 million that we have fundraised through donations and fundraisers that we've been doing over the last 8 years. So we have a lot of funds that we feel very accountable for, that we need to do something with. So that is why now we are at the point of, what do we do again? And so we're coming back to the council again with information that we've gathered as to and some recommendations, and that you can all take that information and decide on. All right, so current space needs. One of the things that we did was go back and look at those numbers, since that space need that we did was back in 2018. Wanted to look at that and see, can we reduce the size? Where are we at now? We're 8 years into a 20-year space needs assessment. So that space needs assessment was for a 20-year period. And so we're coming back and looking at that and seeing. So what we did was looked at the numbers that we had before for just the library part of that. The community center part was not really a consideration in the space needs that I was doing. I was just looking at what we need for the library. And so going and looking at what they had said prior to that with the experts, and then just myself looking at things, measuring the spaces that we have and just saying, like, what do we need? So it was literally Susie and I going through and remeasuring everything and looking at our shelves and, looking at our adult collection, for example. A lot of people don't realize that our collection space is smaller than most libraries of town of our size, and have been for a very long time. We have books on the tops of our shelves. We have books stored in back rooms. We have to weed extensively. So looking at our collection space, and looking just at, for the example, at the adult collection, being like, we need 1.5 times more than what we have right now. So we're not talking 3 times, 5 times, we're just what we have now and a little bit more. Our children's area, we need at least twice the size that we have now for our kids area. Our collections, we aren't even on on carts in the kids section right now. So that's just collection space. That doesn't have anything to do with space for just families to gather and for their kids to play while they're at the library. one of the biggest things was looking at our programming. We have extensive programs at the library, and how are we going to find space for that? That was one of the reasons we were combining with the community club in the original project, was because we needed that space in the community center for our programs. So what kind of space do we need for just our programs? And looked at different libraries, sat in some spaces. I went to Story City, and they have a new programming space up there, and it's about 1,800 square feet. And so that was, I had compared that to another one up in Sioux Center, that was over 2,000 square feet. And Story Cities was just a really good amount of space for a lot of different uses that we could use. So basically came back and looked at trying to fit in programming space with the collection space, needed to consider some of the things that have been donated, which were 2 study rooms. We have a adult seating area that has been, people have pledged to donate for that, the books section, things like that. So we had to look at a lot of different things, and what that was. So in that, we came up with around, just usable space needed was around 8,100 square feet. And then in a design phase, you usually add some for space that you don't know what it's gonna be, wall spaces, hallways, all of those kinds of things. So when you add 25% to that, which is a minimum amount, you end up with a little over 10,000 square feet. So that's kind of where we're at. And AJ, I kind of went back and looked at, we kind of discussed Huxley comparison to that. I looked, and theirs is about 8,000 square feet. What Huxley does not have in their square footage are bathrooms, because they're out in the hallway. If they have larger programs that they can't fit in the library, they have the safe room to use. And there's obviously, they don't have any walls in their entire space either, which is a great open floor plan. I would love to do something like that. But there's no entryway space even that's considered in that. So I think we're pretty comparable when I look at that as to what we're thinking of. And that includes an 1,800 square foot programming room that we would like to make available to the public as a community space as well, and is what we're thinking of. So you also have some numbers up there. We did have in FY25 last year, we checked out almost 40,000 items at the library. That's gone up 8% in the last 7 years. I compared the 7 years because I'm like, have we seen growth since we did this space needs last? Yes, we have. We did 454 programs in that year, which was up over 3% in that time. Our attendance for our programs is almost 11,000. That went up 30% in those 7 years. What is going down a little bit, not much, but a little bit, is the people coming into the library. And why is that? Most of our huge programs, we cannot fit in the library anymore. So if you add up all of the programs that we are doing at the park for our kickoffs and our pool parties and our big Thursday programs in the summer, our Easter egg hunt, we used to be able to come back to the library and have things at the library. We can't do that anymore. So there's a lot of things that we can't do. We're also having to limit the number of kids in our programs. And we're having to ask parents to drop off their kids for some programs if they're older and ask them to not stay because we don't have room for them to stay at the library while their kids are doing programs. So when you look at that, the numbers are going to go down because we're basically telling people not to come in for those things. So, but even with that, we still had 22,000 people set foot in the library in 2025. So those are just a few things of the space needs and where we kind of came up with the numbers of what we need, minimum, what we feel, which at one point that was kind of in 2018 was like, oh, we're having some growth. This is where we're going to be at. And now this is like minimum. So the space really didn't change over that time of what we're asking for the library. But we are being really conservative in those numbers.
Right. So we wanted to first give kind of context since not everybody's been here since 2018 to do this. So the beginning part of this, we just want to give everybody kind of background of how we got to the point that we are. Long time ago, somebody told me when you give presentations, it shouldn't be like a mystery. I'm gonna give you the recommendation up front, and then we're gonna tell you how we got there. Okay, so. So where we came from, and this was from a collaboration of the work group. We've also had multiple special sessions of the library board. And this was passed out of the last library board meeting to bring to recommendation here. Is that we would use the Main Street location. And we did put that chart there on the side that there's only been one new building built since 1980. 70 on Main Street. So this would be, and also from multiple conversations and council minutes about how the location was desired to be there to help improve traffic and revitalize the downtown area. It would be single story, 18, okay, so it'd be single story. We'll get into this a little bit more, but there'll be community shared space in there. That's kind of a big part of it, and we've done it through all the research. I won't jump onto that, but there'll be some community space involved with that square footage, which was, and we've already talked about a little bit, is just over 10,000 square foot. And then we'll also go into the cost of it, because we've done a lot of research on different costs from different libraries in the area and how much they cost. We'll go through the differences between renovating the current location versus also building new and the differences on those. But right now, the recommendation is on new square footage is about $400 a square foot. So the $4.6 million is all in. So it's about 4 million, right? About 4 million for the cost of the building, and then the rest of it would be like your soft costs, like billing it and any other fees that would be with it. So we wanted to make sure that we were very diligent about understanding the costs of this so that it was fully disclosed and not just like getting it built, but having an empty building. So this is an all-in estimate based on all the information that we had. So that's the recommendation. And now we're going to kind of go through how we got there.
So Jen kind of mentioned this, when we started this project 8 years ago, it was a 2-story building with a community center on the main floor, library on the top floor. And so she reevaluated, like she said, physically, how much space at minimum does the library need? She also said that 20 years, so that assessment that they did in 2018, finished in 2019, looked at 20 years of growth. And if you were to put that on a trend line, so we were following the moderate trend. That's what we were shooting for, was about 10,004 per square foot for the library. I mean, now she's grown the library, or the library has grown at a higher pace than what that is, but we're still proposing that same size library, that same size building. And so we're at more of like a minimum needs at this point. So Jen has been very diligent with her staff to ensure that there's enough space in each of those areas of the library. Community club leadership has given insight. There was a joint meeting where everybody that receives an email from community club could come and hear and give input and ask questions about this project. We talked about it at community club meetings. Jen has visited multiple libraries. I'm going to speak for you, but being in a programming space and seeing it, you'll see in a couple of slides here, seeing it set up in a couple of different ways was a little eye-opening of like, yes, this is the appropriate size space that we need. So physically being in the space, like going to libraries has been part of this due diligence process. And then looking at all the stuff. So what money is there in what buckets? What grants are available and how much? What different funding mechanisms exist for this project? Meeting with the architect to look at not final drawings by any means, but conceptual designs in the lot and at the library of what could we build. So all of that, and probably a lot more that we don't even have on the slide, all of that has been going on in the last few months to get to the recommendation that Scott just talked about. Jay, this one's all you.
That was me. Okay. We also looked at other projects, other library projects in the state. Prairie City, about 1,700 population, did a renovation of an existing building on Main Street. It was just west of City Hall. That was 6,000 square feet, and it was a $1.2 million project, and it came out to about $200 per square foot. Story City, population around 3,400. It was a renovation and addition. I think they started with a 8,000 square foot building and added on 5,000 square feet, so it was a 13,000 square foot building. Came in at 2.9 million at about $223 per square foot. Carlisle, which is closely matched up with the proposed project here in Slater. Carlisle population 4,400. New construction renovation, their square footage total was a little over 10,660 square feet. Came in at $417 per square foot. It was a $4.5 million project. And then Grimes, which they've taken on a lot of growth, is around 18,000 population. It was a 22,300 square foot building, new construction, $12.8 million at $574 per square foot. So again, the range of those four projects that we looked at was from $200 per square foot and then up to $574 per square foot. We also looked at construction types, stick built, pre-engineered buildings. I had a fairly lengthy conversation with a representative from Morton Building. And I think a lot of individuals interested in saving costs, which most people are, look to the pre-engineered type construction systems. And surprisingly, very early on in the conversation, he told me that using pre-engineered design, Morton buildings, we would not be realizing a certain percentage. He threw out a percentage of 25% cost savings on this project. I explained what was being proposed very thoroughly. He thought the $400 per square foot was pretty decent if it included like site grading, and that did not. He thought that this project would, using Morton or pre-engineered building, would be closer to like a $5,000 or a $5 million project. So it'd be more than what FEH is estimating. And then I think Kyra identified a project from Sandy Construction. I think they're close to Fort Dodge, pre-engineered, and that project came in at around $400 per square foot. So that's a pretty popular number.
So of all the library spaces that were researched, whether that was looking at those four on the screen, the ones that Jen has physically been to, all of them have a programming space within their facility. So all of them have that shared programming space that can be used in a couple different ways. You can see those two pictures on the right are Story City, set up and used in a couple of different ways. So this multi-purpose space has been part of the plan since the beginning. It's just shrunk significantly in size from being its own floor of this building to being part of the library. But it's been part of the project since the beginning and will continue to work for what the library needs and the needs of the community.
Okay, so we'll talk now because we spent a lot of time trying to figure out, do we renovate or do we build new? So this was a big topic for us. We spent a lot of time on it. And just so you see these diagrams, FEH made these diagrams for us just to get us a concept. These aren't really like, this isn't final drawings or anything. It's just like, how would we make it work? Like, just give us something visually that we could look at that would give us an idea of how this would look. So this one right here is the current location. This gets us to about the 10,000 square feet. There's two things obviously that we were concerned with from a renovation standpoint. One, you're building on two sides of the current library. You're gonna have disruptions with service. You're gonna have a new roof line. And two, it does give us, this one does give us the ability, one of the things that we're really trying to do with this is you can go into the library and you'll have your community space that's separate from the library. So if you lock up the library, community space is still available for people to use. This does give us that option, but you're somewhat limited on it because that's to the south on the left part of the screen, that's to the south of the building. And to get to the size that we want, it would be pushing it to be able to make it that much. So, And then also on this one, you are getting very close to the lot lines to be able to make this work. So you would have to go and get variances to be able to expand it to this. We would lose all of our parking on the south side of it. And on the other side, it would be really close to the property next door. So that was our thinking on the old one. And then Kyra will get into the cost. The new one conceptually we have here, the reason that we liked it is you would get your staff parking in the back, but you have your programming space separate. So you walk in, your programming space is to the right. And then your library is you go straight into it, and that is the rest of the building. So there's separate facilities on those, so they could use the programming spaces within the library. But it also could serve as a dual purpose of a community space as well. I don't want to get too much, you're doing costs, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so I won't get into the cost. Parking too, it goes on we don't have to go back, but parking on the new one, we would have additional costs for that because we'd have to get some new parking on the north side of the building as well. And then all the other stuff that we had talked about before, I know we've looked through like city council notes before, just talking about the revitalization of downtown and getting cars downtown. And Jen talked about it before, that we have 22,000 people visiting the library. That part, as well as helping downtown, that was another reason why we thought that would be a good spot. Are there any other ones that are missing? I think I got most of them right there. Oh, and then there's potential grant opportunities too for revitalizing Main Street that you could get with new construction. So that's where we lean. There's a lot of concern, particularly about renovating, because more like we'll have to shut down the library for a period of time. There could be additional costs because it's 35-year-old building, so you don't know what codes we'll have to bring up to speed. Plus, if we do want to have minimized construction, so if you keep the library open, that could actually increase costs because they'd have to work at different times when the library is open. So there's some unknown parts of the renovation that we were concerned with that could increase costs more than on the surface that they would be. So anything else I'm forgetting on that? That anybody else wants to add in?
I think the last bullet under remodel, that pending no unforeseen costs. The cost difference between building a brand new building on Main Street versus remodeling and adding on to the library would be somewhere around $150,000. A little less for renovating. So it's not a real substantial amount of money in the big picture of things, which leads me to my next bit, which is money. And this is in the slide, but you have a version that Jen brought you. It was in your packet, but it was an addendum. So we made you copies just in case you hadn't seen the addendum version of it. So the one that Jen handed to you is expanded to have more detail in it. But in essence, I really wanted to share the actual spreadsheet that we worked from, because we used it like a worksheet. So we worked on the top and said, okay, if the cost per square foot is $400 and it's 10,225 square feet, how much will it cost to build a building? How much will the soft costs be as a percentage of the building costs? And that's the total for the project. And that key number there on the bottom that says the 65% target. The biggest grant that we know that we would apply for is a community attraction and tourism grant, and they require 65% of your capital to be raised before you can apply. That's the high. There are other grants that we have that also have minimum capital raised figures, but that is the highest one. So we're defaulting to that one. So we can play with those numbers and say, well, what if it's $350 a square foot? Or what if the building is 10,500 square feet? Or what? So we could play with those and see what is the number that we would need to have. So what you have in just still form there then is that we need about $3 million to reach that 65%. So beneath that, on the below the project funding estimates section of it, then these are bits of real money and proposed money, fictional money, if you will. Everything in the blue column under fundraising, that's real money. That's money that we have. And we know what we have. Everything that is buff colored is an estimate. It may be a pretty close estimate, like things like the foundation investment return. We're gonna get an investment return. It might be a little more, it might be a little less, depends on what the market's doing, all of those kinds of things, but it's somewhere in the ballpark, presumably. Things of that nature. Then if we go further down that list there and you look at library rollover, city sale of the existing library, and city contribution, those are just numbers that we put in. So we can see where we can get to $3 million. In the copy that you have, it's not on the slide, but in the copy that council has, there is an expanded section that has all of the grants that we know of right now that we would apply for, what the maximum that you can get from those grants is, and we're guessing best we can. We can't do any better than that. You have to have these, mostly the large grants are ones you have to have this significant capital raised in order to be able to apply for them. And then whether you get them or not, or you get as much as you can, those are things that are not knowable at this particular point in the process. But what we did was estimate that we get half as much as we could. A CAT grant, you could get $500,000. We estimated 250. I don't know if that's what if I don't know if we get any, I think we would, but those are the best that we can do. So we're making educated guesses. And that's what we know to do right now. So if you look towards the bottom of that sheet, then if the fundraising column and the city column are added together, then that's 3.1 million, and that gets us in that 65% range. That's really what we're looking at right now. If you were astute to looking at figures, you would say, gosh, Kyra, that building costs more on the top and you don't have that much money on the bottom. And yep, you're right, because I'm guessing at all of the numbers on the bottom. I can make them match, but it won't be any truer than it is now. So this is just our way of saying, this is what would be required for the project to move ahead to meet the needs that have been established and the goals have been established for the process. So. Questions? All right. Then the other thing that you also got a paper copy of, in case the one was small in your slides, is just a potential timeline. We've spent a lot of time looking at the grants. We know when their deadlines are. We know when we have to turn in a letter of intent and all of those kinds of things that go with grants and when we could start doing that. So if the city were to make an allocation towards the project, it doesn't mean any money would change hands at this point. It just means that money would be allocated to a project. Then pretty much immediately this summer, we can start applying for all of those things that are green. Those are all grants, green for grants. And the architectural design process. And actually, we probably have to have that architectural design a little bit further before we can get those applications in, because we'll have to share those things as part of the application process. So there's quite a number of the grants that we're interested in that we can apply for yet in 2026. There are a couple that go into 2027. The Prairie Meadows has a couple of different grants. And those are awarded in or due in February, so they wouldn't come up until 2027. So, but we could be working on the process, seeing what we can get in grants and carrying on from there. So if we get where we need to get, then we're at construction documents and sending things out to bid, and construction process taking somewhere between 9 months a year, and opening in August of 2028. So we're looking at about a 2.5-year timeline on this whole process, start to finish from here, pending city contribution. Questions? Okay. Then sometimes we hear a little bit about, do we need this, or do people say we want it? Do they say we don't want it? Do we have new data on it? And we actually do have relatively new data. We surveyed people in 2024, the fall of 2024. And 206 Slater residents of the 1,371 registered voters in 2024 took that. That's about 15%, which is not terrible for survey response rates. Interestingly, 83% of those respondents voted in the 2024 election, and their responses were exactly the same as what the bond vote turned out to be. 56% of the people who responded to this survey said yes, 44% said no. So we had an audience that provided this information that sort of really mirrored well with what our citizens had already told us in the election. The interesting thing about that is that there is a difference. There is a difference between what people say they want, what they support, which if you look in the chart on the left, kind of shows it broken down by grade, by age groups. Who supports a larger library and who supports larger community space. And you see that overall, they average out to be pretty similar to one another. 66% say yes to a larger library, 62% say yes to a larger community space. And you can look at it, like I said, by the age bands, because it changes across people's lifespan, what things are more important to them. So there's a difference there though, between what people say theoretically they want and having to figure out how to pay for that. And as we have worked on this for as long as we have, people don't want their taxes to go up, and that's what they told us with the votes that we put before them. And so that is a little bit of a mismatch, but there is generalized support for the process. People don't always know that the library is undersized. Most people are using the log cabin at least a few times a year. And the one in blue is kind of interesting. They were asked if you would donate to this project, and what is that? A little over 100 people said at some level, yes, we would donate. And if all of those people donated at the top of their range, that's a couple $100,000 in donations. If it's the bottom, it's 20, but we don't really know what that would end up being, but we know that there are over 100 people who said, yes, we can give money to this project, we believe in it. And we think that that's important to point out to people. We keep trying to do our homework. So we're trying to reflect what people want.
One of the things I want to address before we go to the wrap up that I forgot to mention earlier, there are some questions that came up in the meeting that we had at the log cabin with the community club, which was regarding people coming here from other places and where some of that funding is, or is there a lack of funding? And one of the things that I realized that a lot of people didn't realize at that meeting that I want to address is that, so we are the Slater Public Library, obviously funded by citizens of Slater. We are also the library for 3 surrounding communities. We contract with Alleman, Sheldall, and Kelly. So they pay us, their city pays us for our library to be their library. So we have money from those 3 towns and have for many years. We also get funding from the county that supports all of our rural residents in Story County. And then we do get some supplemental funding from the state library from the state of Iowa as well. The state has what is called an open access program, which allows you to go to any library in the state of Iowa. So if you are a commuter who goes to Des Moines, or you go over to the 3 Cs to exercise and you use their library, that's what allows you to go to Huxley or Ames or Ankeny. It also allows people to come here as well. So, but we do get some supplemental funds from the state to allow that. So I wanted to make sure that we realize that there are multiple funding sources. The library does have several revenue sources. We also get lots of donations for several of our programs. Our summer reading program is completely sponsored by businesses every year. Our lunches that we do monthly, the people who come put money in a jar to help pay for the food. So there's a lot of ways that we do supplement a lot of our programs through donations as well. So I just wanted to make sure that since that question keeps coming up a lot, that I address that too.
So I'll just wrap it up. Go to the next slide, actually, and then you guys can ask us questions too. This is in the library, when you go in there, and it just shows like who gave money. There are a lot of people who gave money to this already. So we have somewhat of an obligation to try to make sure that we're doing right by them for giving money and doing this, but there's a lot of effort that went into trying to figure this out. A lot of hours, a lot of meetings. What our goal was when we first started to do this was, how do we get it to move forward? What do we need to do to get forward? And the answer was, for us, is how do we get to 65%? And that's what the exercise that we did. So in essence, it's kind of like a handoff, right? We give you all this information. This is what it's gonna do that we need to be able to do to get to the next step. Based on all the information that we gathered. And get some guidance to see what thoughts are on it and how to move forward. There's been so much time done into this that it's hard to keep telling people to keep doing this. So, and one of the things that we did bring up earlier, and I try to, and I've said it in different places. When we first started out, it was 5.8 million for a 20,000 two-story building. Now it's 4.6 million for a 10,000 one-story building. So the more and more we don't do anything with this, the more and more this is gonna cost. And the less that we're gonna get for it. And the reason this was in when we had our community club meeting. The reason that this still keeps coming back is we have $1.2 million to give to the city to build a library. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out a way to be good stewards of that money and to do what everybody had asked us to do, which was to build this library. And so that's where we're at. So it's a kind of a handoff. You got all the information that we have, and now you guys can go and figure out how we can get to the next step. If it's grants, we can do that. If it's even, we've got all the information that there could be more donations even within the community. We can start that as well. But until then, I think we'll take a break and doing all this stuff and let you guys can go through and figure out what the next steps are. Did I miss anything? Anybody else want to say anything? Otherwise, we're good. Okay. Anybody have questions for us? Sorry for the length of time, but there's a lot.
Happy Library Week. Yes, happy happening.
If I could just start, I'd just say, it's hard to find volunteers in any organization, and it's hard to find volunteers that'll go to the extent to gather and present information to the extent that's been completed here. And so it is appreciated, the amount of work and the extensive amount of work from staff, but also the volunteers, because there's a lot of volunteer hours that go into coming up with something like this. So I would just want to express the gratitude on behalf of the council, definitely on behalf of me, to go to this extent to provide this level of information, because it doesn't come free. So I do appreciate the effort and the input there. With that said, do you have questions for the presenters here?
Since we just got done talking about Sheldall's contract, are the other contracts liable to pay for any capital improvements? Library?
We wish.
I mean,
Jerry, quick question. The other libraries you looked into, how were those funded?
Prairie City fundraising grants, local options, speed camera revenue, Story City donors, city contribution, county contribution, grants, foundation money, trust money. And the other two, I was not able to get the information. But fundraising, city contribution is the biggest.
I do think we have much more work we can do in the fundraising arena if we can get unstuck from the stuff that we're right now. And the city contribution of some amount is what.
I think we've given. We've already said that we're willing to put some money towards the project. I just don't know what that looks like. I mean, essentially, we're looking at, well, $1.568 million is what we're looking at. I mean, is what selling a building. We've got rollover.
That's, I think, the total requested. I do think the 309 account, there is 180 that's city pledged money, the 180. Was kind of pledges on local sales tax at the end of budget years, I believe. So there's been some verbal pledges, but it's to the amount really of the 180. I think
they're asking is 1.5 million essentially.
1 point plus, technically plus the 180 that has been pledged
Yeah.
previously.
1.7.
1748 would be total, like city.
But that too is rollover, right? That's, so it's in essence, it's the library money asking for that back. I understand that, but I mean, just, and then some of it also is the sale of the building, so that's not straight cash consideration, right?
Yeah, there's rollover of 190 in there, I think, and that's in there. And then there's 180 that was pledged out of the local sales tax leftover, in there. So it doesn't really matter in the end. I think the semantic of how do you get to a project is, I think, the ultimate question. And what is the city?
I think an important piece of this, though, is that we, I just gave you a roughly 2.5 year timeline.
Right.
We're not,
No, I understand. Yeah, yeah.
we're not asking you
No,
to
no,
just
no.
write us
I
a
understand.
really large check and
Yeah.
then we'll.
But why not?
The other thing is contingency. I mean, you have a $4.6 million cost, but have you looked at what contingency is theoretically gonna be? For your change orders and things like that. Most projects are gonna propose anywhere from a 10 to 15% contingency.
And my understanding,
So-
talking with the architects, is there's some contingency built into that $400 per square foot cost.
Okay,
When we got to the point where we got
Okay.
a lot more detail, we had a detailed plan and we could get a detailed budget, we would know exactly
right,
what that cost would
right.
be.
That doesn't come till our
Right,
architectural.
and we've
usually.
done this the other way around, where we've had the detailed plan and the detailed budget, but it's too big. And so we've come to you with concepts, really, so you can tell us if we're doing anything or we're not doing anything. And that's, so we didn't come in here to say, we want you to give us X number of dollars per se. What we're trying to tell you is that this is what it will cost to realize the project and the goals that it had starting in 2018. And
But essentially, if we can't come to this dollar amount, you can't get what you're after, though.
Mhm.
And I don't know that we can do that full dollar amount. I mean, I don't know how we get that money, first of all. Second of all, like we talked about the other day, it seems like there's always these projects like, hey, this would be a really good idea to look into. This would be a really good idea to look into. And it just seems like they just keep piling up. And
Because this one hasn't moved.
exactly.
This one needs to move and.
How do we make it move? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what.
And we bite off
Like to.
that. I don't know that we can. And I understand you've had majority, but it's not that resounding majority that, there's a reason there's a super majority on bonds. So,
And yes, one of the things that we always have to think about too is, what were people voting for with that? Were they voting for a bond? Were they voting for a project? I mean, there's two different things there, but the biggest thing here is like, we've done all we can do at this point. You've asked us, the council, and I realize you're not all the same people, but the council has asked us year after year to continue. So we have done that. And now we're to the point where we're just giving you all of this. And the library board recommendation was to just give you all of this and let you figure it out from here. So I think we'll probably sit down and you
Yeah.
guys can talk about it.
You can.
But it's really, we know that there are a lot of things, a lot of needs in this town, and we don't disagree with any of those needs. We're not out there trying to cause dissension or, we want to do something that is good for this community and we want to continue to do our jobs well. And so we're just giving you everything now at that point to make the determination as to what you want to move forward next. So, here you go.
we would ask that you come back to us with what you can do, if anything. And if it's nothing, then it's nothing.
Not that we should say we can do nothing, but I think it would be wise to do.
We've already committed to do something. I mean,
Right.
there's already some commitments there, but
Our library is undersized. This seems like a bit. I did a little bit of homework. These were 2024 numbers. They class Slater as a size C town. I think it was between 1,000 and 2,500 people. And the average library in a town of that size is about 5,100 square feet. I don't think Slater is like the average town, and I'm not marrying ourselves to this or anything like that, but it's hard, I think, as a council member when elected, knowing there's so much concern around taxes. It's hard to justify getting into a new construction library that is about exactly twice the size of a average. And allowing the Slater residents to shoulder that, or to some degree anyway. And I think AJ's question was important. It's great that these programs are paid for largely to the operational costs. But to put that on the shoulders, to put an expensive building on the shoulders to build, and maintain and everything, I'm just not sure about doing that.
A couple of
Yeah, I was gonna say.
A couple of things I would add, Russ, in that same data set that you're looking at, we're the number 2 library in program size. And I think, don't quote me on the number, but circulation, and we're in the top 5.
I don't see program size on here, so that's
What's
how,
that?
I don't see program size on here.
If you're looking at the large stats.
Yeah.
For Iowa libraries, it's in there, it's just a lot, there's a lot in there.
There is, there.
So I think that we have a better library than sometimes in the Class C libraries.
We have an exceptional library, truly.
And also related, if you look at the total cost of the project, but what we really look at, what it ends up being is sort of a third. It's a third in donated money, a third in city money, a third in grant money is what we're trying for. And so a $4.6 million building for $1.5 million, 1.2 is really what we have on that sheet. 1.2 in city funding is still a lot of money. I get that it's a big ask, but in the scale of the entire project, it's a third.
we're the 1.2 number, Kara, did you mean the 1.568 number?
I mean, 1.2 in actual funding plus the sale of the building, which has always been.
Wouldn't it be more than that? Because the 190 is rollover. The 180 is local sales tax. So there's just under 400, 370 plus $1 million.
The 180 in the money that we already have, I'm not counting that, so it's on top of that, you're right.
Got
That
it,
money has
okay.
been there since 21, 22, and 23. So, it's been sitting.
It's an additional 1.2 plus the
Yes.
sale of that.
Yes, that's what.
The 1568 additional is what's being asked for.
In my sheet, I have the sale of the building at its assessed price. I don't know what. I don't even.
Yeah.
But I know that's what it's assessed for. So again, it's best guesses for numbers to make them as accurate as we can when I can't be totally accurate.
I understand.
I wanted to ask one more thing on the size. When Carlisle did their building, I think it's pretty much exactly what our proposal is. They're a bigger town than us, but we have higher number of door count and higher number of programs than they do. So from a size standpoint, they just built that library, but we get more people in the door and have more people in programs than they do. So from a size, and they're 2.5 times the population as us. So from a size perspective, that's some of the stuff that we looked at is like how other communities are, because that was the first thing was like, oh wow, Carlisle is bigger than us. Maybe this isn't the right size. But given that we actually do get more people in the door and our numbers are somewhat lower than they should be because we're moving people out of the library, plus we are, and we still have more than them, and we have more programming. That's where it was kind of a validating point that size was appropriate.
I think it's possible also that we can do a lot better in fundraising than what I've included in the sheet. I just kept it very conservative because I don't want to promise some huge number that we can get to.
But I'm wondering if it would be,
Yeah, I think
I think-
fundraising has dropped off because
Well-
everybody knows where it is right now and it's stuck.
Related to that, Joel, we get, Susie, correct me on this number, but I think you said that we got $50,000 in donations last year. We're not even trying to get donations.
Yeah.
Is that the right number?
Yeah, right.
So.
So there are some people that they just keep asking, how's the fund, how is the building coming along? And they're not gonna give until the green light is given.
Right.
One of them is South Shore Bank.
Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as a community member, and I did not come here for library stuff tonight by any means. But I've had 3 kids that have done programs in the library. My kids are all adults, so are grown enough out of the house now. I can remember as a kid, them talking to friends in other towns and talking about the fun stuff they were doing at the library, and their other towns don't do Slater days. And I can remember their friends saying, can we come to Slater, can we come do this with you guys, can we do some really cool things? And one question I would ask is, the sports complex that's going in outside of town, how much is the money, how much is the city putting towards that? Just kind of a comparison, and I do apologize, I haven't been to city meetings, so I don't know what the city might be investing in that, but, with the baker coming in town and the library being right across the street from that, and with Public House doing the business they do, they bring people in from out of town, and when you've got that open library policy in the state, you're gonna have other people from other communities come in and seeing and getting involved. There's a lot of kids that just Huxley and Cambridge come over and do things after school on Wednesdays, on early out days. So that benefits more than just us, and I think it's a big attraction to have that good library, and, there's something to be said about getting the kids involved in brain activities out in things other than sports. We put so much money and so much emphasis on sports that I think it's amazing that we put emphasis into the library that we have right now and the programs that they do. And they've been out of space for a lot of years, because I know it's been tight.
Yeah, just a quick clarification. At the moment, the sports complex is not a prioritized project and not one that is competing against funding and has been told not to compete against this project for funding for the last 8 years when this is going on. That ground was donated over a decade ago. The city has put funds into it. I believe the total funds that have been invested are around $300,000 since the decade. About 168 of that is grant dollars, and there's another 75,000 in grant dollars that'll be used for that. So just to clarify, this isn't a project versus project standpoint. The goal of this council should be to execute all those projects that we can, including an EMS building that has dramatic needs and repairing some of our roads. That's where the decision-making at this desk is the most challenging. Some other factors outside of that make me concerned as the mayor about just the future of finances in city government or in municipal government is there's a property tax bill at the State House right now. If that passes, we'll have a 3% cap on revenue growth. So our budgets will increase roughly by 3% on an annual basis. We're currently at a break even really when it comes to our spending. So the tax revenue we collect versus what we spend to operate the city on this year's budget was just about a break even. And I know we made some amendments to that about cameraing, some equipment, safety equipment. So we're operating, in my mind right now, we're not aggressively challenging departments to reduce spending, but we are operating at a break-even line right now as a city. The capital fund that this council and the past council determined was based on a 65% general fund reserve, right? To set that money aside to be prepared. And then the leftover funds that were in there were considered the capital funds. Some of those funds were rollover funds from different departments. Some of those were local sales tax funds. Some of those were economic development funds, et cetera, various pools. The total that you get to in the capital bucket for all projects in the city of Slater right now is somewhere around the window of 1.5 to 1.7. That's total what's available for us to deploy right now in terms of cash available without using other mechanisms. So that's what we're looking at, I think, as a basis on like the capital bucket to deploy to execute the projects. In the same school of thought that as a city, we're breaking even, so we're not growing the savings account for projects. So the future of projects, once the 1.5 million-ish is gone, will come from other funding sources, which is generally in a city's landscape bonding. Whether that's essential bonding for things that the council can take action and bond for, or those are more of the non-classified essential items that the public has to approve with the supermajority or the unanimous, overwhelming unanimous of 60%. So the future of funding these projects relies on a bucket right now, the way the legislation looks at that is my vantage point, is the way I see it and believe the challenges that we're faced with. And that's why this moment in time is so critical. And it would be disappointing if the committee came to us and asked for a mediocre subpar project. As the stewards and champions of the project, it should always be in pursuit of the best project possible. But I really struggle with the amount of money we're sitting and have to invest in capital projects, the overwhelming need and demand, and where we sit from an operating standpoint today, and the inability to continue to save funds. The only other funding mechanism that I know of right now that's available would be to capitalize on a commercial TIF district, which I know has been talked about, where we could capitalize and use that money by certifying a debt and take it back from the county and the school in theory, and we could deploy that money against the debt that we have. The caveat to that to keep in mind is, if we do that, we also take those property tax dollars from our general fund. So it will put our general fund budget, it will reduce our revenues in our general fund. So there's a trade-off in that.
Explain that better. And that's money we're not collecting right now.
We are collecting it in our portion of property taxes as a city. If we TIF it, we will lose that money from the general fund and it'll have to go in here to pay the debt.
What percentage of the 330 are you referring to?
You were in the meeting there. The 330,000, is that what you're talking to?
Right.
It's about 50% of it. Is what was given by Northland. You were sitting just to the left of me in that meeting. We lose that general fund portion of the property tax dollars we get from that, because now we've put a debt against it and recaptured it via TIF. Therefore, we don't collect the general fund property tax dollars. We collect all the property tax dollars, but all the property tax dollars have to be used for the debt. So we can't use it in the general fund, so it reduces our general fund balance.
I didn't think it was near that. I just remember.
I think it would, the way you said it, I remember it was, it's like, it's a $2, you give me $2 and I lose $1. That seems like a good deal. Or a buck and a quarter, or a buck and a, it could be closer to that, Craig. I don't have the exact number, but there is a trade-off. And when we're operating in a budget an operating budget that's like line item, that means then if you certify that, then you're going to go back to all departments and start to scrutinize where there's gonna be budget cut. We're gonna have to cut budget somewhere, which we may have to do either way in the future. But that's the trade-off. That's the only other funding mechanism that I know of right now. It's the untapped tool that we have. So my biggest question in that long-winded response is, just from my vantage point, is the library board have an appetite? Because this is a significant change from a project that has been entertained and discussed and promoted in the public. Does the library board have an appetite to go back to a bond vote for funds to fund this project?
Well, I'm a little confused by how it's very different from what we've talked about in the past. What do you mean by that?
It's a one-story building. It's not 20,000 square feet. It's a change. It's a significant change, I think, in terms of what the original and the 3 votes were voted on. So what does the library board have appetite to go back and seek a bond vote to capture these funds to expedite the timeline in lieu of anything the city would decide to discuss here? Is there an appetite, and would there be support from the library board to do that? I know there's at least 2 of you here.
There's 1, 2.
I only see 2 of you right now, but
I mean,
I know you can't speak for him, Scott, but
yeah, I mean, we'd have to talk about it, but I know that we've already done 3, right? And we've got the last 2, I think we're at 56%. It's close, but I mean, the last one was what the lost dollars was completely different type of.
Yeah, that was totally separate than from voting on the project.
From a bond standpoint, I mean, we've already done it 3 times, I think that's. That would have to be a discussion point, but I don't know if there's a huge appetite to continue to try to do that. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know. Now, but one thing that I will say is when we had the community club discussion, that I think there's like 25, 30 people there. There were a lot of people there that did comment that they learned things that they didn't understand before. But it's not necessarily that we didn't try to do these things before. It's just hard to get. Yeah, it's hard to get people show up.
Agree.
And in that circumstance, they did. And really, when you're talking 56% to 60%, you're not talking a lot of people switching votes, right? You're just talking a handful of people. So it's not far fetched to be that it couldn't hit 60. It should, getting 60% of people to do anything is really difficult, right?
Yeah. And I think that's the threat. That's the challenge in this sheet is if it's really hard to get 60% of people to say, yes, I'll pay more taxes. I find it really hard to like say, hey, we should take their tax dollars and give it that way. I think is challenging from this seat.
Well, I mean, what we're coming to you today is you guys asked us years and years ago and multiple times again to come up with a solution. And this is what we came up with, right? There's,
yeah,
I mean, I get it. We've also been told it's a priority this year too. So
certainly,
if it's a priority, there has to be some commitment, right? There can't just be.
And I'm not saying there's not a commitment. I'm just, do you believe that it's enough different project that there'd be an appetite that could win? Because I personally believe that a $1.1 million grant success rate, that's an average of 76. The calculation on grants has an average success rate of 76%. Is that we get 70% of the grants that we'd apply for. That's a very, very high success rate in the grant writing world. That's just an average of the percentage of funding you get 76% of the funds available in this grant list. That's a very, very, I think, aggressive projection. So the reason I ask about the bond vote is because this is 2 years if we get all these bond votes, if we get all these grants. That margin of error has challenged us and led us to where we're at today. So I want to mitigate and remove as much of the outside reliance as possible to execution. And that's where a bond vote again, for the same amount we've tried in the past with a different project that looks different. If there's appetite for that, I see a very clear pathway for it. I'm not a voting member up here, but I'm just speaking. I see a clearer pathway to execution and a faster timeline. And I think that's what everybody wants.
I don't disagree with some of the stuff you said there. I do think that it puts us in a bad situation. I feel like the last time it went down, people who were trying to pass that got put in more of like a villain status of trying that we were the bad guys and all this. And I don't know if I want to put people through that again because we're trying to do things. Like I said before, we have $1.2 million to give, and we're trying to figure out how to do that. But for us to keep going back, like the last time, there was a lot of negativity towards that, and a lot of that was directed towards the group. So I don't know what the appetite would be. Now, there's all kinds of things that we could talk about. I get it's a big number, and I get that you say the success rate is high, but what we don't know is what we don't know. We don't know a lot of things because we can't get to that stage to be able to do these grants. Maybe we do have that success rate. Maybe it's even better. I mean, the Prairie Meadows one's $1 million max up to 25% of your budget. We could get that. We don't know what,
But that's the problem is we continue to operate in hypotheticals and we've done that for 8 years. We got to reduce that margin.
Yeah,
hypothetical.
But we've been doing it for 8 years because we can't get to the stage to where we can actually go and try to do these things, right? So none of the dollars that we need, and Kyra kind of went through this, we're not using them at the best case scenario for at least a year. There's no outlay for at least a year before any of this would happen. It's the commitment that you would need to have to be able to go and be able to start applying for the grants. That's what we're missing.
That commitment is 66% of what the available funds are for capital projects. That's now tied up for another year. So then that puts every other capital project on the list beholden to how does the grant writing go? And I think it's a very, very bullish approach on grants. And so what I'd like to see us is a more aggressive timeline that doesn't
just for clarity, I just did the quick math, it's closer to 50.3 million in their maxes and the rest. They're
What's that?
Projecting 1.1.
What's that?
I was looking at the maxes on their sheet. And I added up.
Which
the
sheet?
maxes. It's the.
Can you show it to
project
us?
funding estimate,
Yeah,
the one they handed us.
okay.
I looked at all the maxes, added it up, just quick mental math, it's gonna be 3 million. They're projecting 1.1. That's less than 50%.
If you look at what they're calculating 100% of grant rural innovation, 50% of CAT grant, 50% of CDBG, 35% of Prairie Meadows, 100% of Prairie Meadows, 100% of Carver, 100% of Story County Foundation. If you take the average of all those success percentages, it's a 76% success
Add
rate.
up all those.
It's a success rate of 70% though, in what you're asking for.
Yeah, but
That's really
There's
good.
different ways to look at that.
that's an average.
Your numbers guy, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, well, I mean,
Certainly.
those 100% ones are like $50,000, right? So, I mean.
I just think-
35% of $1 million one and 100% of a 50,000 one.
The other thing-
That's not bad.
The other thing you have to think of is this is exhausting all the major grants. So then not only you're now basically closing that grant pool down for alternative projects as well. Right? Because history would tell you grants are available to cities in a cycle of, is it Brenda, do they say every 5 years you're lucky if you get a significant grant?
It's hard to say yet, but it would impact the future.
So it's like, that's all the major grants being exhausted. 66% of the available capital fund, it really restricts our ability to execute other projects. That's why the bond vote, if there's an appetite for it, I see a very different project. That bond vote could ask for $2 million or $2.5 million plus a city contribution, and now we're a lot closer to shovel in the ground. Versus where we're at now, which is, we hope if all these things go right, we'll write grants and hopefully in a year or 2 years or 3 years, we'll have progress. I just would like to see this thing built sooner than later. And in order to do that, the only option I see is to go to the bond or to reduce the overall project cost so that we can get to a reachable 60% threshold.
If you go to bond though, I mean, you're talking probably we'll be here a year from now, and not started, right?
We'd know on November 4th whether we had the funds to write the grants or not. At that point, you'd start writing grants. So you'd be delayed by, is that 6 months from now? You'd be delayed.
Some of these grants are quarterly.
Yeah.
and They can be turned in, so.
Yeah.
You can hit them when you're ready, but some of them are annual. And so if you miss the window, you
Yeah,
miss the
certainly.
window for you. The timeline that I shared with you has basically everything that we have, which I don't have any illusions is everything we could apply for. I'm not a professional grant finder. That's why I would use MIPA, which you all pay for, to help us with the finding and the writing of those things in case there are opportunities I haven't known where to look for them. So, but we don't know. We don't know what we don't know. We can't guess how much we'll get or if we'll get. But the smaller grants, I have in at 100% because, for example, a Carver Library grant, we will get. A rural enrichment innovation grant, we've already gotten once. I think we can get it again. Story County Foundation grant, we can get that. It's the big ones that I don't know the amount on, but Jerry, you in Prairie City, you guys got a CAT grant for your library and the amount of how much?
I think it was around 200,000.
Okay, so we don't know, but we can't apply. So we'll not ever know.
I didn't really want it. I mean, it was more like us trying to give information. I mean, we can have the debate and all that other stuff. That's fine.
Yeah, certainly. I'm just sharing with the council for anybody that's here. This is where my head's going in it. And so the way I see it is, we take it back to a bond vote and that's what makes sense. And we ask for enough that we don't have to count on $1 million in grants and 377,000 in the sale of the library. We shrink that margin and we fill it with fundraising and grant writing in one annual cycle. And at the end of that cycle, we know we've executed the dollar amount we need to get the project built. Or we go back to, because I don't see that the expansion of the existing library was vetted other than one proposed design. I believe, looking at it, there's alternative ways to do that. It doesn't have to be the design that was kind of presented by FEH. And maybe it's not the full 10,000 square feet, maybe it's 8,000 or 9,000, which is significantly better. And I understand that's not getting everything that's wanted and needed, but I would go that way because we have 3,600 square feet that costs 38% less to remodel than to build brand new again. And the 377 is a fair estimate of the assessed amount, but it's still an unknown along with the grants. There's a lot of unknowns. So I would say that would be what I interpret and read through this, but council, you're the ones that vote. I've spent a lot of time talking. I would welcome your.
I'd like to hear from the two councilmen that have been here the longest and have worked through this for years now. Where do you think we're at?
It's changed so much, honestly. I don't know if I don't think the chances, even with a lower project, I mean, I could be wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but to bond for that the community's gonna respond in a different. So I would never do that. I would never do this personally. But there's other projects out there, and I don't want to get into all those tonight, but I think you have a better chance of bonding for those and the community going for those projects, certain projects than for this one possibly. And then that's a question of then, okay, so we have this money here we can allocate to it. It's not going anywhere until it comes to fruition, until they get grants and until we actually get to the point where bidding and all that money's just allocated. It can be changed if we want to eventually. And so for me, I just want to get it done. And so it's a matter of, do we do what the mayor's talking about, where you set it up before the bond again to the community for the bond? Or do you take our other projects to eventually, within the next couple of years, if we're going to keep doing what we're doing and keep growing and keep getting things done, the community's going to have to be okay with the bond. Just going to have to be that way with all the different things we have on the table. And so do we bond trying for the library again, or do we allocate money that we have already to do that and then bond for for some of this other stuff that we have going on? That's the big question in my mind.
That's another question.
Hold on, we're gonna let the council deliberate. Sorry, just.
One thing for clarity. I feel like somehow this has stopped being a council responsibility and became a library board and other people. Joel, unless you tell me I'm wrong, because you've been here the longest. This was a council action and the council said, do this.
Yep.
This is where we want to do it. This is the project we want. Please go do this on our behalf. It wasn't a bunch of people that said, council, can we do this? And we said, sure, whatever. It doesn't, no skin in the game.
Right.
Yep. This was a council action.
Yep. And since then, the council has dramatically changed.
Correct.
And
but I want to make sure.
And the mayor has changed.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. Which is all factors into it.
Yes. And council's changed, agreed. I just want to. This isn't just a bunch of people with a mission. The council had the mission.
No, the council asked them to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, and the council said, we want it on this spot. We're gonna take community club money and buy that land. So they did all that. And then tasked the group, which I was a part of for 2 years until COVID hit. And yeah, they tasked them to do it on behalf.
And then my second consideration is there's a TIF fund that we have not been accessing. So right now we're saying we would take all of our available capital money and put a big chunk of it towards this project.
Not all of it.
A big chunk of it.
A big chunk.
And it would be at some future date if the grants happen. I want to understand the TIF money that we have not been collecting. What else can that be used for? Is it available money that we can use for another project? Or is it something that we're going to continue not collecting?
You sat right there in the financial meeting, right next to me with the
Yes.
financial advisor and Jerry, so I'm struggling to understand
What
what
other
you're not
projects?
understanding.
What other projects can that be used for? That are
Anything
within that-
inside the urban
Any
renewal,
Public project, public improvement.
It doesn't have to be within that TIF.
it has to be within the
area.
urban renewal area,
Okay, and
and
that's
it
what I'm
has to be a certified debt first.
correct, which we can take a debt against that. And what I'm asking is, what other projects are within that TIF area that we can use this for?
R38,
Okay, so that R38 falls within that. Okay.
the rest of Main Street,
What's that?
the rest of Main Street.
Yeah.
The whole commercial industrial park out there. There's a map. I think you've seen it before, but
Yeah, I
there's,
just don't remember off the top of my head what it is. So I guess where I'm
but that
at,
urban renewal area could be changed as well.
okay. So I guess that's my impression is we're saying this would use a big chunk of our available capital. I think that we could consider using the TIF money for that as a project. And as Joel said, maybe some of the other projects could be a bonded up project instead of this one. I am obviously supportive of this. I voted for it every time it's been a vote from the council. Admittedly, that's only 2 years. Joel, I think it's been pretty unanimous from the council for the last 6 or 8, whatever this project's been, I guess 8 years now. And I continue on that path. I do think the lost vote last fall somehow got twisted around instead of being a lost vote as a vote about the library and underhandedness, and it really turned into a divisive thing for the city. And I really thought that the community center library was a positive for the city and a catalyst to help Main Street get kicked off. So I am still a supporter of this. I think this is something good for the community. I do gotta admit, after last fall's vote, it put some cracks in my faith that it will be a positive. I don't want people to perceive this as the council backdoored a project in. But I'm still a supporter. Although I'm a little concerned about how that message got out, that this is somehow a devious act by the council. And I'm fearful it will continue to be that thing that, hey, they snuck this in the back door. So how to reconcile those two positions, I don't know. But I'm still a supporter. I think it's a very good thing for the town. I think it's something everybody in the town can use of all ages. So, it's one of the few projects that I can say everybody can use it. So I'm a supporter, and I think we should come up with a way to do this. And I guess my response for this was, Gary and Lindsay, look at options. We've done that to you two before and say, what options do we have? And that's what we present back to the council. We passed a CIP with $3 million in it for this project. And so I guess I thought we were supporting it. And what they're asking for us right now is 1.2 in cash, basically, and another 377 from the building, which isn't a guarantee. But that money doesn't come out of our pocket for a year and a half until they have to secure all the grants. And if they don't secure all the grants, then if you're correct, Taylor, and they can't find that much money, then we don't have a project and we don't fund our 1.2 plus the library. So that's my position on it. Julie, you asked for the 2 older ones. What's your thoughts?
First of all and foremost, I really do appreciate all your time and effort. I can't believe anybody's dedicated to work that long and that hard on it, so thank you. The other thing is, I don't think anybody's opposed to the library. First of all, that isn't what the issue is. The issue is how we're gonna pay for it. It's that simple. If we were sitting on $10 million, I'd say, build it tomorrow, I'll go out there and help you dig the first hole. But we don't have $10 million. We've got a little over $1 million. And you want us to tie that up for 3 years, do absolutely nothing else with it for 3 years, hoping we get these grants, hoping that the price still comes in at 400. We're not moving forward. That's the problem I have, is that we're still just buying time. And I don't know how I can, as a person, I've supported the library, and personally, this is really hard for me. But I don't know how we can tie up the city's money, hoping we'll use it for over the 3 years for a library, but we don't use it for anything else. And we're taking a chunk of it, plus anything else that we might get in those 3 years, if it is, because prices are gonna go up. You're still $400,000 short of the 4.6 that you say you need. And if we don't get those grants, where are we gonna come up with that other million? The city just doesn't have that much money. That's my only issues. If you wanted to go to a bond in fall and the city would say, yes, pass it, I think it'd be great. Will that happen? You know, you give us stats that 66% of the people want it, and 66% of the people don't want to pay for it. And I can't help that, but I have to support that because 60% is what's there. So I can't in all due diligence just say, we're gonna tie up $1 million, oh, and hope that we sell the existing library and let you build a library when we haven't even sold that other library. That's still $400,000. That's significant money to this community. So I don't know if there's another way. It's either gotta be a bond, or we decide as a council how much we can give and sit on for the next 3 years or year and a half.
That's what we're asking for. That decision.
Yeah, hold on just a second. Just,
No, we need to figure this out as a council, and I don't mean to short. Not that it isn't important. So, I mean, is there some way we can agree on an amount or agree on an amount and then give it to Jerry to give it to the staff to work directly with the library on how we might be able to use that dollar amount to build out the existing library and see what we can get. I know when I have a project, if I want to buy a car and I go look at the Mercedes, I know I can't afford it. And I have to say, okay, this is my budget. Now what can I do with that budget? And so if we give the budget to the city, it's a city building, they figure out what we can do with that budget. Is that a solution?
And so we're looking at a used Subaru right now, so I don't think they're asking for anything big.
is that why you drive a Toyota?
Yeah. I can't afford.
I drive a 99, don't you?
AJ and Russ,
Kind of aligned with Julie on this one.
and what does that mean in your words?
Trying to figure out the dollar amount, what we can give, and then where's that money gonna come from? How long can we tie it up? I mean, I entertain the idea of tiffing, but I don't know what that looks like on paper. What's the future of those dollars? You know, where does that put us? And I kind of agree with Joel too, you know. I could see a bond getting passed easier for R38 than the library at this point because it's been this long. So I don't know.
Just to clarify, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but a road falls under an essential and can be bonded for without a 60% threshold.
So do we look at the TIF dollars and what that gives us for dollars realistically for the library to use? I don't know. That's more numbers that we normally get into, and I don't fully grasp all of it.
Are you saying present what you're saying? Maybe a proposed path forward is come up with the contribution the city be willing to make.
Yeah.
Consider that 65% of the budget and proceed with what you can do with 65% of the budget, with that number being 65% of the budget roughly.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're, as an
Well,
alternative option?
Look at what those, the TIF dollars and what's that gonna realize for us? You know? That would be interesting to see. And like I said, I think Joel's right. This building has changed dramatically. I've obviously been more involved here lately and it's changed dramatically. So I think there would be more support for it compared to what it was before, because the rumors are, I saw this huge venue building, and it's like, well, I don't know if that's fully true, but that's what the rumors were. Flat out. That's what I literally heard.
It's a different design.
Were parking.
It's a different
That was the other
design.
Concern that I kept hearing over and over and over.
If we
But-
renovate the existing building, we lose parking,
I understand that.
like. and then you're-
On the proposed FEH design, but there's other probably ideas on what a renovation could be without losing parking.
I would love to.
That's not the set. Kyra, There is more ways to renovate that library than the one design that's been showed.
Certainly.
That's a
there are
fact.
things of ways.
That's a fact. So,
They show
um,
5 different ones.
Russ,
I think enough has changed over the years. I'm wondering, are we bound to the location on Main Street? Would it help it to pass a bond if we got it off of I've heard major concerns from people and. In the ways that it would change our Main Street, it would change the culture of our Main Street. As soon as we put, a huge government building in the middle of our Main Street, it sort of shifts the culture a little bit of our Main Street that is very quaint and very limited as far as what we can do with it. It eats up a super important piece. And I'm a small business. What's that?
That lot has sat empty for decades,
Sure.
along with several other on Main Street. So would you rather have nothing than a building that brings people to Main Street?
I don't want a used Subaru on Main Street. If we're gonna now make it smaller and less nice, and now it's not beautiful. The first picture I saw of the library was like, wow, look at that. And it's not that anymore.
That's all.
we haven't seen a rendering quite yet, so it could still be beautiful.
So are we bound, I guess? Are we bound to Main Street? Who makes that decision? What is that?
Begin that discussion. You're going back, you possibly, I'm not gonna say you will, because that's not 100%, but true. But you're gonna possibly make this, and you could possibly make it go faster, but I would see it, you're possibly gonna make it go slower, go back to the drawing board and have a lot more money wrapped up into it on the front end of money we already spent on the front end of the other things. Just building on the location we have it as. Hope I'm wrong, but.
So do we have enough information to move forward? Can we look, I mean, what are we willing to propose, first of all? Second of all, do we need to look at the TIF? Before we figure out what we're willing to propose?
I think we need to figure out,
You know what I mean?
how much money we're willing. And then what's available at the TIF possibly.
Remember, the TIF will force you to cut budget next year by about
Right.
at least $100,000. Somewhere in there,
Yeah.
if you go the TIF route, but we can't utilize the TIF. The TIF is not available to get to 65% because we don't have a certified debt.
We certify a debt, yes, but.
We have to spend the money to certify the debt
So, yeah.
so that we can then start capitalizing. We can't say we're certifying a debt hypothetically, maybe. We have to certify the debt per the financial advisor.
Take a debt against this project with pledging the TIF income as the payback, correct?
No, I do not see it that way. We have to take the money out of the general fund and spend it. That certifies the debt because we spent the money. Then we can recuperate the funds.
Gotcha.
I'm going to make a motion that we have Jerry and Lindsay investigate how we can utilize the TIF that we have not collected. So it will not impact us going forward. And calculate the net result of decreased income because it would go towards the TIF. And what the net would be for us to have available for the next 6 years, I believe, Jerry. Is that how long it was?
5 will be available and it'll be
5.
300 for 2, or 300 for 3, and then step down to a lower amount.
Because it was amended
But
in
if you can-
2015.
If you can calculate that would be, then I think maybe that answers the question you have is, how much is it? No.
Well, it's 300 times 3 and another 2. You have the numbers. You were given the spreadsheet with the numbers and you haven't calculated it already?
And I don't have that off the top of my head. No, I do not.
As the numbers guy, I'm just surprised because you usually scrutinize the hell out of things.
Yep.
And I haven't seen any
But we
scrutiny.
can't access that funds for 5 years and, I mean.
We
over
can-
5 years.
We
It's
can
not
access
available
it,
to
we
us.
can access it, but we're gonna have to spend general fund money to certify the debt,
Right.
right?
Okay.
So is it an option and a funding mechanism? Yes, but we can investigate it as much as we want and spend another 30 days investigating it and doing all this, but
Yeah,
the council continues to kick this down the road. And there needs to be clear direction. We've done tons of research on the council. We continue to do this. TIF's out there. We can go get $9 million over the next 3 years, but we gotta pull, or 900,000, but we gotta pull that out of the general fund and spend it in order to be able to certify and start collecting it. So we know we have to do that action. So it doesn't, in my mind, get us anywhere further or help them at all get anywhere further besides just another 29 days of buildup as to what are they gonna find out and what's the direction gonna be?
I put a motion on the floor to calculate that. If there's not a second, then it doesn't go anywhere, but I would like to understand what that number is. So that's the motion I put forward.
You do have all the numbers already from the financial advisor face to face. That is true, right?
I put a motion forward. Taylor, you don't agree with me? That's fine.
Craig, is it correct that the financial advisor handed you the sheet with the numbers of the amounts?
Taylor, if you want to get testy about it.
I'm just asking you.
At the meeting, there was a lot of things said. And a lot of things have changed since that meeting. So all I'm trying to do is clarify what the net positive will be for the city and how we can use it.
I just want to clarify that you've been provided full access to those numbers directly from the financial advisor, though.
You can keep repeating, I can keep repeating.
A lot of repeating. You can get testy about it. You say you don't want to backdoor. That's what you're trying to do is backdoor.
Okay, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yep. Is there a second? So that dies, no second?
Deal.
They need some direction. They're asking
Yeah,
for
they
direction.
need-
They're asking for direction or funding.
To operate in I mean. There's so many things that they're, how do we move forward? We gotta get them an amount that we will pledge and where it's gonna go and there's too many hypotheticals.
Okay, we have to move this forward. I have no doubt that the 134 and the 180 belongs to the library and then that whatever funds are there.
309, 180, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yep, I think
Um,
they're agreeing. Rollover, you're saying?
Rollover,
190, 609.
and let's take the sale, just for random, the sale of the old library. What's that give us as a number? Those 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers.
Close to 6.
There'll probably be more than that. I'm not listed there because it's.
4, 5, 6.
It won't sell for one.
How long is it gonna take to sell that building if we decide to? I mean.
Well, I'm not selling it, just let's,
Yeah.
can I?
$568,209.
How much?
568,209.
Plus the 134 and plus the 180.
Where's the 134 coming from? Sorry.
It's the account current balance and the donations and fundraising that we have in the 309 account.
The 134 is donated money, it's not.
They're already counting that already
I
in
know.
theirs.
Okay, oh, I'm sorry.
That's not any city held money.
Okay,
That's
it's not city held.
the
That was
Friends holds that,
180,
I
right.
think. The
Okay,
180 the
so
city
take
does.
180, 190 and the 400, and what do we get?
That's.
748.
What thing, 500,000 more than what he said.
Well, no, because we're
No,
pulling
because
180 out of their
400.
existing, but you're 748,209 and what you're deeming right now, city contribution. And that's including the three.
Let's move much forward quicker than 3 years from now. Sitting that money, so I would propose that. We pledge $800,000. To a project to look into and have the staff work with the library to look in renovating the existing project. So that we're at the $2 to $3 million level and we can get it done in a timely manner.
Existing project, Main Street location, you're
No, I'm sorry, to the existing library, in addition to the existing library.
with an $800 city
You look at a budget
contribution.
of between 2 and 2.5 million to see what we can get done.
So they'll have with the private, they'd have 2 million if you give 800. Is that right? 1.5 plus actually 2.
Or 1
What I have, 747,
With the numbers in it.
800 minus 180 is 620,000 plus their 1541 number.
This is not for the library.
162, they'd have a total of 2.161 that would be capital, that would be available. Without any grant writing, right? That's what you're saying, Julie? So I just want to walk through this because there's a lot of numbers. So you're not proposing any change to the fundraising column that Kyra and the committee has put together there?
I'm looking at what the city is willing. to
Yes. So what that means is the 180 that's in that column, so they're whole at 1,541,000. We're reaffirming the 309 account of 180 to them is the proposal. Then you're recommending that, yes, give the rollover 190,609. So that's, you got that 1,541 number, 162.
To 200,000
Mhm.
and the 377 to 4, so that's $600,000
Yep.
of our current retained earnings towards the project.
Oh, do you have to sell the old library in there?
No, she's just saying give
Yeah,
cash in
money.
lieu of it.
Rather than selling it, I'm using that money.
And she's saying to renovate the existing library.
Okay, so you're taking.
Part of the
You're taking that
So we're not
400,000.
selling.
Correct.
As we're renovating.
Is it part of that?
I'm sure I understand what-
Bunch that-
Yeah,
I'm
but
taking
it's just a figure.
$600,000 out of our current
Capital fund.
retained earnings towards this project.
Out of the 1.5.
Correct, out of the 1.5,
What's your net number, Julie?
600,000.
I got a question. 377 is selling the building. How does that come into dollars if we're not selling it?
She's giving you cash in lieu of selling the
Giving you
building.
Selling it by adding on to it.
So here's the total. Just let me walk you through it. Their number of 1,541,162 is whole because Julie's giving the 180. Yep,
Not giving, they already.
it's been committed. I'm
Yes,
fulfilling.
yes.
Yes, we're in line with
Fulfilling
it.
our obligation.
Then what she's saying is give for the library rollover, round that up and give them 200,000 on that line item. Then give them 400,000. Cause they're saying 377 for the library. So instead of selling it, here's 400,000. Do not provide $1 million contribution. Right? So then that's 600,000 in the city column.
It's 600,000, which is more than half, well, it's close to half of our retained earnings at the moment. Not giving them
600,000
everything we've got because we have other
plus the
things coming up.
1,541. 162 is a total of 2,141. 162 is what I get to. All right, did you track there?
Yeah, we're basically saying the city donates $600,000, so
Correct.
I'll pitch the other side. That means the city is the benefactor of a ton of fundraising. They actually raise more money than we're gonna donate to a building that we own at the end of the day. That doesn't seem quite kosher to me, and I guess I would have to ask the library board, are you willing to give us the fundraising money that? That's, I don't know if that's the library board, who owns the fundraising money?
Friends of the library would own that.
Will the Friends of the Library support this
I mean,
and give their money?
that would have to be a discussion. I mean, a lot of the people who are on the work committee are on the Friends, right? So that's the money that went to that. So we would have to go back to see if that was even, I mean, that's not the recommendation.
Yep.
So it would be different from what we had put on there, and that's the dollars that were proposed for that was to use it for in that manner, which would be different than before.
As I understand it, the fundraising was done for a community center library,
Yes.
and I don't know if this fulfills that or not.
I'll also add, like, community club, I think would question, we gave the money to purchase the land. And so, I mean.
On Main Street.
On Main Street for this purpose. So we would have to discuss it as well at our meeting, like what that means for our future contribution. And the contribution that we've already made, which is 8 years ago, but still. $75,000 we gave the city for this project that is now.
So does that mean we have to in those fundraising then? Because we paid 50 for that lot, right?
And that was the
30-some.
30-some.
So what's the gap between 75? You said,
At the beginning, 150 in total.
yes.
We gave $75,000. Most of that, or half about, was used to purchase the land. The other half was used. For
Okay.
like FEH work.
Okay, so the city doesn't have those funds anymore.
The city used.
It's been all exuded
Yeah.
on the FEA. Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure I was tracking.
The current library lot likely wouldn't provide the use that the community club is supporting.
Yeah,
So that, I mean, it's small.
it'll have to be revisited regardless.
We would have to talk about it too in this.
Yeah. So there was a first to give 600,000 city contribution
With leaving the library.
lead
As a
to
renovation.
focus on renovation on the existing site.
Correct.
Is there a second?
I would second it.
Is there any more discussion?
Just a question. Why did we put $3 million in the CIP?
I believe if you remember when we discussed the CIP, which is again another agenda item here tonight on our agenda, but I think we boiled it down to in the discussion, if you go back and watch the video, less about how much money and where's the money coming from, but what are the priority-based projects is the way I recall the discussion going. The numbers and the development of the project plan would come from the investigation of those projects, but the commitment, there's no $3 million in our budget this year.
Agreed.
So we didn't really budget anything for it. Those were numbers that he collected,
Yeah,
Gary,
budgeted, no capital, I agree.
from an engineer or hypothetical, right? They're just a starting point, endpoint, so. But the intent, I think, was to prioritize projects and work backwards into like, what is the project? What's the need? How much money? Where does it come from? How do we fund it? This project had several years of advantage in terms of on some of those other ones. So I think that's where the figure came from.
It's actually 4 million.
Is what you had in there.
That's what we have.
Okay, was the total.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah, and some of those we moved, I think, was the jetting, no, it's adjusted. Okay. Does that answer?
Yeah, it just
Little bit.
seems very. Those are CIP decisions into question, I guess.
Well, you gotta remember, it's the first time in, city history, we've had one and, we're working through the process. We're in the forest trying to see the,
There's an expectation that we
Same
would
trees.
have $3 million ever without a bond. I think that would be a little unrealistic. So the other option is still a bond. That's the only way I know how to get the money for the project, are those two ways.
okay. Any other council discussion? All right. We'll just, because this is a very important issue, we'll roll call vote this. All those in favor, or sorry, roll call it, Lindsay.
Julie Weeks,
Yes.
AJ Strumfer,
Yes.
Joel Newman,
Okay.
Russ Tarhar,
Aye.
Craig Conley.
Nay.
3-2. Okay, so, Jerry, you got a note on that?
Yes.
All right, I'm sure there'll be follow-up conversation and discussion related to this. This won't be the end of the discussion, obviously. But staff has what they need. Okay. We need to move to the next agenda item. That agenda item is moving down to the discussion and consideration of fiscal year 27 capital improvement plan. Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, but ultimately what you're looking for in this is you are right now seeking, what we're looking for here is you're really looking to accept the focus on this at the moment, that these are the focus areas for planning,
27, just the plan only.
for planning, financial investigation, et cetera.
Support. With the service. With the plan, just like a comprehensive plan is. It's
It's a plan, but everything can be changed, dependent on dollars.
Correct.
Have a shot at a time.
I guess my big question goes back to our last conversation, and AJ, I think that strong feeling also. We need to define cap and expense, because I look at this and a lot of these things put on here, I still think are expense. So I don't wanna keep kicking the can down the road, but I need to clarify what expense and capital are, because everything I've ever been trained. A lot of these things are that.
So fiscal year 27, are you honed in just on that at the moment, or are you looking at the whole thing?
Yes.
Okay.
But we
What-
have uniforms, we have.
It's
Everything I've ever been.
Yeah,
trained.
we, just to keep track, we added large and small capitals.
Well, my computer did the
There's only
update thing,
two.
Chad, in the middle of that whole thing, my computer goes into an update mode. So it's not open, but in the capital right now, so I see old shop roof. Let's just do this quick, Chad, or Craig, shop roof. You're saying that's your capital or not capital in your mind?
To me, it's capital, yes, but
Okay.
I guess I was trying to get a
All right.
clarification.
If I read these and somebody says, no, that's not capital, just
Did we ask for clarification?
interject. Yes, but
Yes.
yes, and we'll work through what that definition is. I think staff has a task to do that, but remember. Our operating budget's at a break even already, so anything we wanna do comes at a cost, so we're trying to dumb this, I think, trying to dumb this down. But what items, I guess I'm pinning down here is, what items are not,
You're starting from the top.
I'm just starting at the top in fiscal year, 27,
Just look at yellow.
right? Everything in the yellow, okay?
So repairs to the,
Wastewater treatment, effluent, building repair. That's already been approved by us, right? That's the concrete replacement that Mark was gonna do. We already approved that. City Hall painting windows. I agree, $100. I think Julie said, geez, just paint the windows.
That's not capital.
Library, the only thing, I think, yeah, the threshold. Library building projects clearly capital. R38, clearly capital. 600 block 4th Ave, capital. Anything in street, right, is probably gonna be capital. We're gonna prioritize that unless it's a piece of equipment. Hydrant replacement, 5 years each. This is one I could see where you just have a rotation built into the budget and you want it to just be part of a regular operating budget to be fixed.
right, Jerry's talked about televising, you do a quarter of the city every X number of years, so that's just expense, that's just probably what we do. And AJ, I'm putting you on the spot, but does Huxley do something like that, and that's just part of the expense?
Yeah, it's a budget item.
So we need to look at finding $30,000 to add to the budget. Basically, in the next budget cycle, we gotta find a way to add that in. The question would be, are we good starting it this year and pulling out of the capital fund to get it started? We're gonna have to really
Whether
scrutinize
it
the
comes out
budget
of
next
capital
year.
expense doesn't matter, still has to come, since we're a cash budget, it doesn't really matter, and it's just which, whether you put a capital line or expense line.
Comes out of reserve.
But it comes out of reserve versus
Otherwise,
annual revenues.
I mean, technically, you could put it in a separate line item, just amend that line item. There you go.
Right.
That's figured out.
Yeah.
But you have to allocate that.
So I guess that would be my opinion, is then, so I'll take it out here and just add it to the budget at our next
Yeah.
amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As an expense item, not a capital item.
Correct.
So, we approved the budget tonight, so
It'll be amendment.
if we say do it,
Future.
it'll be an amendment. Yeah.
Future on.
We should amend it before we start the year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Replace 4-inch with 6-inch main and valves.
I don't know what that means enough to know if we want off or not.
It says a study.
That would be considered cap. 'Cause
Capital.
You're gonna study to see where. Okay, line jetting work, we've already agreed that this is more of a capital project. It's on the agenda tonight. We're gonna look at it. Sample,
Expensive as part of a regular thing.
televising in that, where I think we've already agreed that that goes more to regular maintenance, more so than
Budgetary.
capital. It's gonna move to
Right,
operating
sorry, I just
budget
understood
instead of
that.
capital.
Well,
Yeah, nope. Nope. Sampler and inflow meters.
I think that's a one-time.
One-time.
capital.
Third and green storm sewers, obviously gonna be capital, I assume, right? Rebuilding storm sewer intakes, AJ, or no, in your mind?
Depends to what extent. They're just taking the brick out and building boxes and repouring them.
Boxes.
I mean,
So this,
That's
10 grand at most, probably.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing,
I would say that would be a budgeted item.
expense item, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
I mean, that's general repair, not necessarily.
sports complex will be a capital one. Sidewalk sports complex, that's a capital one that we have the $75,000 grant that's gotta be used this year, and I think Mark is working through something, so hopefully we'll see.
Is that
lighting-
engineered or is
What's that?
that engineered? The
I don't
sidewalk?
think any of it's been engineered.
Nothing
Is
yet.
that something that should be engineered? Most sidewalks have some sort of an engineering plan.
Well, Snyder and Associates did a custom.
laid out.
They've been laid out, but I don't think,
It's
yeah,
not technically a sidewalk, it's a path over
We haven't
the
had like construction drawings.
path from the trail to the park.
it would make sense to have some sort of review to it, to like is the positioning the right position, I assume, but
like this.
It's gonna hold water all the time. What are they gonna do?
yeah.
And that's been looked at on some level, but I think you're right, it hasn't been down to.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in that vein, I would like to have a better plan for the whole thing, whether it's discussion of Parks and Rec about a kickball or something. So in light of the fact that he seems like we're cooling on the big fourplex for the baseball, softball, or was. We need to have a plan to make sure where we put something. So I had that as
Yeah.
it's not part of the capital versus expense, but part of the
Yeah.
capital for that, we need to have a plan that Is
And I
kind of
think-
where we're at.
I think for clarity, I think the focus on the path was just gonna be simply that stretch of path that goes between where soccer was originally conceptualized and baseball and softball was conceptualized. And there's a culvert there, so it'd be the entry that would be on the furthest west parking lot. We'll have to get a drawing. I mean, we'll have to approve this in fiscal year 27, obviously, as a council agenda item. But that's what he's talking about, is the
Yeah.
sidewalk connector from the trail to the parking lot. And that was conceptualized, and it was like in between the two parks. Where exactly it lands and what's going around it, I think I think the whole plan,
Bathrooms and all of
it would run by where those were designed to be.
That's why I wanna make sure that you have a plan that we're reasonably.
Yes.
Tearing things up.
Severs Trail lighting, I think that again is a capital project, if we're in agreement. Yeah. Parks, Northeast Trailhead, that's been a part of the R38 capital plan. The next page, we already agreed that protective equipment and harnesses go to budget, so go to operating.
I think you missed the pool filters. It's in 26 and 27.
Are they
Pool
yellow?
filters aren't they?
I would think,
Just a few lines of fire harness. Pool filters are not
No,
No,
no, that's operating, yeah.
no.
Yeah.
It's in green, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's got
One,
an X in 27.
1/3 each year. Yeah, so he's gonna do 1/3 each year. Yep, okay. So that's though more of an operating.
Yep.
Harness, personal protective.
well, yeah, yearly. it's-
Operating.
Yep, so that gets to the bottom of it.
Same thing on the PC for the library.
That's
Yeah.
operating.
That should be expense. all-
Well, and at the end of the day, to be honest with you, you know, like, in a perfect world, I think the library board would have their own capital kind of improvement plan inside of that, or their need plan, because if we have to scrutinize the budget, we may say, hey, we're not gonna buy 4 PCs this year because we aren't operating no surplus. So what are those items?
Yep.
I think the definition is withstanding. I would just reiterate, this is very much a working progress document and process we're trying to establish based on kind of like a wish list from a department head to our wish list to like, how do we do all this? But I think what Jerry wants is, okay, I'm gonna focus in on all these things that are in yellow.
What's that need?
Yeah.
Not a wish list.
I'm gonna say that out loud. Go ahead. You didn't like my wording, say it.
No,
Nope.
it's a need. It's
It's a
just
need.
how.
Okay.
It's just how to prioritize. it.
How
That's what-
How it's prioritized. That's probably a better way to say it. It's probably a better way to say it. So I think, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, but all you're looking for is like, yes, we agree
To the
through that
plan.
discussion that the items for fiscal year 27 are items we want you to be working towards, presenting and reporting back to council on, as well as identifying and reporting back on the financial avenues or pathways to achieve these.
Absolutely.
So the motion we're looking for is just that. As stated prior to what I asked
Next
for the
year's
motion.
capital improvement plan will be void of.
Sure, I'm good with that,
Do
actually.
it, Joel.
Go for it.
Newman, got it.
Joel Newman with the first,
Sorry, yeah.
second from Russ.
I guess an amendment, but I'm guessing it'll go nowhere. I'm still intrigued by extending the life of the pool. If we don't put it in 27, then it'll be.
Hold that discussion for an
Yeah, we have
agenda
a-
item
There's
down
someone
below.
down yonder.
Down yonder, there's an agenda item where we'll talk holistically about the pool.
Review.
So we've got a first and we got a second. All those in favor signify with the sign aye. Opposed? And any abstentions? Discussion, this is crazy that we're on letter C. Discussion 847, discussion and consideration of resolution 43, sorry. Yeah, that's right.
RP.
Sorry, I'm on D.
D discussion.
See,
We're on C,
We're on
RP
C.
for comprehensive plan.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, D, RFP.
Yeah.
No, it is D. Oh, yeah, I've got the old agenda, sorry. I had notes on.
C.
I had notes.
See.
C.
C, we're looking
Right
at.
next to each other. We're good.
C,
Yeah.
we're looking at discussion, consideration, response to RFP. Here's what I'd like a motion.
Go
Here's
ahead.
what I'd like a motion for. I met with Jerry in prep of the agenda. I think what we're looking for here is one of two things that I need council's direction on and Jerry needs council direction on. Do you want to see as a full council, the comprehensive presentation, the comprehensive plan presentations from the bidders, from the RFP responders? Or would you be comfortable with empowering the policy and admin to view the presentations and make the selection with staff recommendation?
what
You've
we
seen the 3 bids,
staff
you know.
for was to take care of the items and bring back forth a memo
So
saying.
you just want a
what-
recommendation.
I want a recommendation by
Right.
you and your knowledge of the comprehensive plans you've done in the past
Yep.
and why you've selected this. So
So do you want to just hear his recommendation and vote based on that, or do you want policy and admin to
I'd like
see the
to see it.
presentations?
I'd like to see, I mean, policy and admin can gladly look at it and, I mean, I would like to see it come back as a memo with the recommendation from Jerry outlining why he chose this firm and why in the dollar amounts of each firm that has placed the bid and the recommendation from him. I don't think we need to weed through every little thing when we have hired staff to do some of this.
Second, that's a motion. That
So
motion.
you want him to go back, prepare a memo and we'll visit,
If
read the. memo on
policy
the
and
18th.
admin, if you want to review it with them, that's great, but I feel like this is what we've hired staff for, is to take care of these things. I don't feel like we need to look at every single little thing.
So let me ask, you're asking,
We want, you
Hold
want
on
a
just a second.
recommendation from city staff. How he
Yes.
goes about
It's a
getting.
big
it,
project and it's gonna affect the entire community, so.
I agree.
And it's pretty
And-
common for city councils to be involved in that presentation process. But I would gladly put together a recommendation.
but let me ask in this scenario, I hear the,
Policy
I hear the
and admin.
request.
Go ahead and have policy.
To have it in the
and admin review
future.
With you. Okay, so I'll
To have
make
it
a
in the future.
motion to have policy and admin look at the.
Or you can just tell him to act on his tell us his recommendation and
Okay.
act.
Yes, and then put together a memo, bring it back to us. Moving
Second,
forward.
second.
Okay. Does that change your timeline if you wait till the 18th to give feedback to them?
No, I think we're still good.
Okay. So the motion is, policy and admin see the presentations, Jerry provide a memo from his own viewpoint and policy and admin's recommendations. After seeing the presentations from the 3 respondents. Can I have a second?
You already did. Yeah, Newman.
Oh, sorry, I didn't even hear you. All those in favor signify with the sign aye.
I,
Opposed? And any abstentions?
Maybe this can go for them.
Perfect.
What's that? You were open for.
We're moving on to the next.
DWT.
We're moving on to the next one, GWT. Discussion.
I do not have any additional information, so if there's something, if there's some direction from staff on this.
We were supposed to have a meeting. The last council
Part of the
meeting,
motion?
this last council meeting, this came forward. We were supposed to set up a meeting with me and Craig, and I would presume you and Mark and the powers that be with Grossland and everything else for the maintenance contract, so that we could deliberate and figure out exactly what we're paying for.
You commented there was a revised thing, but I didn't see a revised document that looked like the same.
It's the last few pages, the one that's posted, but I
Does
put
it
a
still look
copy of
like
it right
it
in front. It's,
Because there's something attached,
it's the last few pages.
but didn't it still exclude all of the things that are currently open?
I basically think if,
Well, let's go
if
back.
you have questions,
Let's go
AJ's
back to
recommendation
AJ.
is wants to have the
Set up a
meeting.
meeting
So
for
if you'll
Grossland.
set up the meeting with all the parties between now and the 18th so that Craig and,
In your opinion,
AJ
since you're
can-
here and you've waited this long, and I'm sorry,
No.
what do you feel about this contract? Do you know anything about this contract?
he hasn't been a part of
He
it.
has been.
Okay,
So we're gonna make a motion to set the meeting up and report back on the 18th. So how about a motion to table until the meeting happens?
motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify with the sign aye.
I,
Opposed? Okay, discussion, consideration, rejection of sidewalk installation requirement at 937 Trail Drive. See ya.
Yeah, they got tabled and.
You're almost there. Could have just hung out. Thanks for coming, Mark. Thanks for coming.
That item got tabled and there was a request for me to look into what other communities are doing, and so I contacted Huxley, Story City and Roland. There's a memo, Huxley does an annual inspection. They basically send the property owner a letter telling them that their sidewalk needs repaired. And request them to do the work. If they don't, then they basically do the work and bill them for it and or assess them. Story City, they don't have an annual inspection, it's a volunteer-based program, but they do have a fund set up around 5,000 to 10,000 annually to help residents install sidewalks or do repair work. Roland, similar situation, their fund is around 5,000. And so the recommendation would be to get, to have the public works staff do an assessment and map it so that we know where sidewalks are, not installed, where they need to be repaired, and then we can put that information down.
Still moved on that.
So.
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that we ask staff to figure out, get us a map of the city.
Yep.
Show us where sidewalks are in poor condition, where sidewalks are lacking, and I would ask and prioritize those and do the same thing with streets. So we have an inclusive list of color coordinated or whatever, sidewalk prioritization, street prioritization. With some sort of numbering system that tells us where the focus is gonna be based on the condition that it's at today.
So
Running streets.
I think streets and sidewalks, if we're gonna go out there and
Yeah,
assess
but-
everything, we just do them both.
Yep.
I think it would be wise if you're looking at streets to be looking at what's underground as well.
Well, we're gonna do that, obviously, but we're gonna be waiting on that data.
Would hate this,
Right.
put a new road in and.
Then have to.
Well, I think
need
this,
to have a water main put in 2 years later.
but remember the prioritization of streets can help focus the study of the underground.
Yep.
This isn't necessarily guaranteed to act, but give us,
Yep.
Also, how do we ensure that projects going forward, that they don't get an occupancy permit until it's in? I mean, that's Safe Build or something. I mean, who is that? They should have never gotten an occupancy permit without that site.
I don't know if Safe Build was involved.
It was not an existing road far enough back, if I remember right. on
You had
this
to put it to your property line, though,
Right,
and
yeah.
your property line would have gone there, so.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, just as we continue to expand,
We
don't
make
want it to
sure
happen
that
again.
all the site improvements are completed. before-
correct,
Right.
Jerry is our catch-all,
okay.
right? You're the
Yes.
guy that responsible at the end of the day to make sure those don't
Yep,
get
I
missed.
will.
I have a motion.
I don't think this is an amendment. You got a second already, did you?
Nope.
Oh, second.
All those in favor signify with the sign.
Wait, because this might be an amendment. I don't think it is. Can we look into see if some of these matching funds that the other cities did, if we can use LMI?
Down the road.
I'm pretty sure there's a pathway to that, but I think it's pretty difficult.
Yep. Oh, that's part of the reason I'm hanging around for the next things on.
Okay.
You would really need to income qualify that for the city.
Okay, so
In order to be
that'd
able,
Not
yeah.
project.
yeah.
Yep.
You would have to go in and
Yeah.
ensure that they fell under the 80%.
Right. That's why I was saying research, not that I would say, yeah, good, not.
Yeah.
Yep.
So cancel that amendment, but maybe we're looking to do.
We have both motions. All those in favor signify with the sign aye.
Heard AJ.
Opposed? No abstentions. Discussion, consideration, solid waste and recycling recommendation. The pathway that we continue to operate on is that Jerry and I will attend the board meeting in Marshall County in May to request and hope that we get full access and determine and quantify what the contract is. Jerry would like to proceed at this time
With
with
an RFP.
for recycling specific services, assessing individual household recycling, but also community-wide recycling, and officially take respondents. Ames didn't encapsulate all of the providers because of some of their requirements up front. And so there's some local providers and others that maybe didn't respond aggressively to Ames like they would to a community like Slater.
Now where we can compare to Aspen, who Ames is working with, and Metro West Authority.
Is the council compelled to empower him to get that RFP out for
So moved.
recycling?
Second.
All those in favor signify with the sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I do have a question, though.
Yes.
We have to still break our contract with Ames, correct?
We will most likely do that once we know the
We
marshal.
don't know if we can for sure.
They've told us they'll release us,
We need to send them a letter requesting to release.
but they want us to do that now. They've requested that we do that now, and I said,
Sent it.
don't bring it to the council because we can't send a letter until we know where the garbage is gonna go. And we'll quantify that in May.
On the 19th.
We'll have clarity on what Marshall is offering or able to provide us.
So we have not broken that until we make a final decision of it.
Exactly.
Thank you.
And the length of that commitment will be obviously worth noting.
We
Yeah.
can't break the commitment till we have the recycling either, can we?
We don't know the answer to that, but that's why Jerry believes we need to have a response on recycling.
That's all.
Marshall, I don't know, has told us that we have to have that in order to be accepted, but Jerry's interpretation is we have to have it.
That's what I thought the law said, we had to have a recycling plan.
Yeah, and that could be as much as one dumpster in town that's for recycling.
That's what I'm actually hoping.
So
But you do have to prove that you.
you're trying diversion, yeah. And it's to our benefit, right? Because the amount that goes in costs the hauler.
More will be recycled and have to pay less for trash.
Motion for so moved by Julie to empower him to start that RFP.
Seconded by-
Second
Over here.
by Joel. All those in favor signify with the sign aye.
I,
Opposed? Discussion consideration home by advantage incentives request for 411 Benton. What I would like to see council do here, obviously, we gave direction and support that we're in support of the project. I think we need a little bit of clarity on is where the funds, requested funds will come from, what fund will they come from? And how will we recover that fund? And what the options are. And then I think the closing date is on the 15th of June. At that point, we will need to, in the March 18th, formally approve that incentive, formally improve the action to create the TIF or whatever we're gonna do to recover those funds.
I see the information. We
Okay.
talked to a representative from the Allers Cooney Law Firm. We determined that we have $180,000 of low moderate income dollars that could be applied to this project. And she said if the council authorizes that, we would not be required to set up this urban renewal district for this project.
However, we will not recuperate any of the upfront money. We just spend the LMI and it's gone.
Correct.
But we have an option where we
Why
can
not?
use general fund and get it back.
It's unallocated dollars that's not set aside for other projects. And again, it's 190, correct? 180,000.
How much is the cost of setting up the TIF district and paying the lawyers and yada, yada, yada?
There is an engagement, and just so everybody knows, Homes by Advantage was gonna be here tonight. They asked me what time they should target coming. I told them 7:30 to 8, which was a total mistake. Obviously at the clock, but I said, I don't think we're gonna take the formal action on approving or denying the incentive.
It's like $300 an hour and likely.
I just wanna make sure I'm not gonna spend 50,000 to get 50,000 back.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that much.
No, I think you build that into what can be recuperated though too.
So
And that's like,
on that one, Taylor, right?
there's a low to moderate income threshold and a blighted threshold. That could be considered. Jerry and I have debated the blighted section.
They did kind of confirm that it's more than one building, so it'd have to be multiple buildings.
Yeah, you have to have multiple building for blight.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Or words say property singular, but, so then it would be an LMI based TIF, and that, in that sense, would require the homes to be built and sold at the LMI
that's their
threshold, which
intention.
we've designated, which their intention is. Then we'd have a 10-year TIF on it. If you could just report back and maybe
She
just
said
have,
20 years.
20 year.
if you could bring it back to us with just clarification and recommendation of where the fund would come from. And then we finalize it on the 18th so that they can close on the
Where they
June meeting if they want.
Okay.
Where the LMI would come from.
Where the whole entire fund, like the whole entire funding structure, this is what's recommended to do it. And at that point, we'll execute the engagement letter, which is the next item. But I think an outline of what the funding plan is, the recuperation or the options.
But do you want the clarity on whether we wanna consider using LMI only or versus TIF? Cause I'm with Taylor on this one, I'm taking my hand, and
We
I
have
would
the
rather
money
use
that
TIF.
could be applied. to
But even though we
the
have it, I'd rather
50,000.
keep it for something else and use TIF and recoup the TIF. Cause if we use LMI, we just used it, it's used up, right?
Yeah, it'll continue to grow as the TIF district continues to
Okay.
grow, but
But
yeah.
hopefully we come up with an LMI plan to use that money and
the comprehensive plan will have to address some sort of housing and the variable levels of housing in the community and how we can solve problems at varying income levels of housing. So I imagine hopefully the comprehensive plan leads this council to create some sort of program associated with LMI. And so that's why I feel like TIF's the right move now until we have the strategic direction on what we're gonna use LMI for.
Cause I think we have lots of demand for LMI, we're starting to plan to do it.
Yeah.
And I realize, Nancy Jerry, it's more work to do the tip for you guys. But for 50 grand, I guess I'm volunteering for the work.
And I think it'd only be 30 of the 50, wouldn't it? Cause they are asking for the down payment.
30 for TIF and
30 for TIF is what we'd be doing in the end, so we would be taking 20 out of LMI either way.
Yeah, I know it's mixing up the L, they asked for 50 and 20 there.
And then they reduce the cost, yeah, yep, exactly. So are you guys
Would go directly to the homeowner.
as a credit on the purchase agreement? Yep.
Okay.
So I think,
And you'd actually be checking the income of that buyer then if it's going directly to them?
it is the builder, that's responsible for that in the documents we've done to verify that it's
Like the other two you guys did before.
same developer, yeah.
I've used it to model in other cities, so I hope it's.
Yeah.
That's the last one wasn't tipped though, is my understanding.
It was supposed to be, but there
Supposed to be
apparently was a clerical error.
That was our fault.
Yeah, so this one they have expressed that they want it to be TIFF specifically so that they can look at bigger projects similar to this.
Correct.
Is what they've said.
And the last one was, everybody was lined on TIF with one TIF.
Execution, yeah.
So can I make just one point? I don't wanna belabor tonight's meeting, but I
It's all right.
don't wanna forget to bring this.
Signed up for this.
So, TIF utilization for housing, triggers something, and this is why your LMI pot is the way it is, because it's really goofy in Story County, the college kids skew our numbers on LMI percentages. So with every one of these TIF deals you've been required to do an LMI set aside. For some of you that have been on the council for a while, you've probably heard this is why your funds continue to grow. Julie, probably with every subdivision you've done, there's been a set aside requirement. We've gotten really good at our offices on getting the relief for particular projects in our rural communities to get that relief dropped down to 20%, which allows more money to go to the developer or the city if they're incurring that debt and gets that off your rolls faster.
Got it.
So again, as that's being structured, Taylor, Jerry, call me. Colo approved it 2 weeks ago at a council meeting. The next day, we got Debbie to approve it and it got dropped down to 20 in Colo. So we've done it in Roland, Colo and Maxwell, so.
That's an overall thing that we set more like a code or a standard, not on an individual project basis.
It's housing for, use TIF for housing. And you're not meeting the LMI requirement within that subdivision. You have to set aside for use
60%
other
for
way.
LMI.
50.7% right now is what the number is.
Mhm.
You have to set it aside for other use in the community.
Okay,
And it makes math equations difficult on housing deals, requires developers to wait 15 years to be paid back. I'm here to tell you, we've gotten pretty good at getting these things changed for projects, and even if you decide to use TIF and somebody mentions LMI set aside even on that little bit, I think we need to do some things on that, so.
okay.
The other three communities are Dorsey and Whitney communities, so Dorsey would have known. Ayler's probably doesn't know that we've been doing this successfully, getting them
Okay,
reduced down to 20%.
good to know.
Extremely valuable.
So, yeah, larger projects, that makes a lot of sense.
Now you tell me that.
Okay,
Just use everybody that you use that.
so let's get a motion. Are we getting a motion to
Verification.
to push this to the 18th for the feedback and
So it's a table.
data related to
Oh,
where's it gonna come from, what are we doing, et cetera?
The options,
The financial options.
right? That's a table then, right?
Yep, so moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify with aye.
Uh,
Opposed? Can I have a motion to table H?
Who made the motion?
Craig,
I did.
Oh, thanks, sorry.
Yeah, motion table
H.
H.
Second, please.
Second.
All those in favor signify with the sign aye. Opposed? Okay, discussion consideration of concessions agreement for 2026 pool season. I think we've been down this road. Staff has done this. We've got the returning to run the concession stand for us. I think that's a good thing.
Has anything changed from previous years?
She not paying me.
Huh?
She's just not paying.
Has she?
Which that wasn't changed from last year.
Oh, it wasn't.
Okay.
No, I don't think she's paid. Historically, there was some contracts that paid, but I'll just,
Pay last
She did pay last year,
She paid $250 a month,
month.
but she's got costs to create an LLC, get a license from the state. She's got like
We're
$1,500
actually
in
making it legal this
expenses.
year. Last year it was not even.
She didn't do any of that last year.
I think it's great. I don't think you're gonna find a lot of people that are gonna wanna do it.
Make a
Yeah.
motion to approve.
I just was making sure that there wasn't anything.
Yep.
crazy.
all those in favor signify with the sign aye to approve. Opposed? Abstentions. This item was requested to be put on the agenda, discussion and consideration of removal and relocation of stop signs on Main and First Ave.
Yeah, it's just, Public Works, after those signs were installed, Public Works received a lot of calls, upset residents about the installation of the signs, but I talked to Mark, today about it, and he said that the calls have dropped off. So he'd like to hear from the council. I don't know if the council heard from any of the residents. I know I didn't receive any calls. Lindsay, have you received any calls?
Yeah, I got some calls.
Okay, nobody called me directly and asked me about it.
To complain or?
Yeah, to complain about the stop signs.
I heard some from a gentleman this morning as well, particularly for the ones on First Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think the ones on Main Street are an issue. I think it's the ones on First.
I've only heard good things.
I've only heard good things.
I like them. The ones on First.
Yeah.
The Public Works is proposing to remove the ones on First, the two that were installed on First Story and it's in the street.
Main.
No.
Oh, Tama.
Tama. And install, there's a traffic device that, as a motorist, it'll tell you how fast you're going. He used to
Speed feedback.
purchase that. It's like $450. In front of you. But that would be something that would be in their operating budget that they could purchase.
I'd leave it as is.
Although the library doesn't like it for truck traffic on First Street. That's been the comment I've heard. Because of accelerating trucks. Apparently
gets
it's a
louder.
lot noisier, which
Oh.
I never thought about and makes a lot of sense to me. So,
Speed's just,
Right through town.
the speed's just gonna go up there if you have stop signs on Main Street and you take them off at First Avenue's.
practical.
I'd love to see the feedback from the feedback sign in a month or two and see how fast people are going, because I bet you it's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, I think this one's so cheap it won't gather data, but
This decision was made, the DOT sat here and told you that stop signs are not meant for traffic control or speed.
yeah, but the DOT lets 7 people get killed before they put stop signs at intersections too. So, I mean,
So you don't wanna listen to the state, what their recommendation is that you should deal with this speed problem with.
we're the governing jurisdiction of the streets here, so that's why we did it. So,
I have one question. Are we extending the gravel on Marshall to connect the trail to Main Street?
wait, Marshall?
Yeah,
No, we don't own the property.
It's private property.
We don't own the property to get there.
that's not a right of way,
Hammond, Estates owns that section.
that small section.
We only have an easement so deep,
talking
and then
about
there's
the
like
Art
5
Library?
acres that we can't connect it
I
there.
just saw rocks sitting out there, so I was wondering if that's what was.
That's private.
Cause that would make perfect sense
If we
to
could,
extend that if we could.
I'm hoping it'll be part of the comp plan, but not yet.
Cause then that's where the stop sign should go. If that were to connect.
I hear don't do anything on Main. Main's not a problem. I'm hearing First is the area of discussion unless I'm missing something.
I would like personally, I don't know if it's a motion, I would like to leave the stop signs in place through harvest season and see how much flack the co-op gets with grain haulers coming in. But I think it's achieving, Sean was the one who originally suggested it based on the daycare center, the truck
A
traffic.
whole lot more of them are coming down my road.
Oh, really? They're coming the back way? Is that how they're doing it? Okay. So I guess I'd like to go through harvest and see how much of a disaster the people that are cheating and trying to find alternate routes, how bad that is, and then
This
address that.
spring, all the trucks have been coming down there.
Okay.
Sounds like a new farm to market road that we could get some money from the county and the state for.
If you wanted to pave that, that'd be great. Extend the whole world.
That'd be nice.
Be nice.
Okay, so is there a motion from anybody?
Is that a key?
I'll call that a motion, that we leave the signs through harvest season. And see what kind of feedback we get, especially on first. And revisit it then if necessary. And actually make a call to the co-op before we bring it up.
Guess I'll second it. I mean.
All those in
even up,
favor?
so,
You're leaving them?
Yeah.
All those in favor signify with the sign aye. Opposed? Discussion consideration CIT 5-year agreement. This is for jetting and cameraing, right? One of the things on there, I guess, questions, since we're gonna capitalize into the public works employee that does serve here and ask some questions, if you don't mind, AJ. Is this common in other cities that you've worked in or familiar with?
5-year contract will give you discounted rate. Because you're guaranteeing them work.
Okay,
And I did look in there, it's got a normal percent raise,
And doesn't it say up to 40 grand a year,
yeah, I mean, there's.
which is significantly less than what we have in the CIP, because that was a comment I think you made.
Well, it says total work performed yearly by CIT would be a minimum amount of 25,000 per year, which I think that might be a little bit high, but. I don't think they don't hold you to that. I mean, more or less, this isn't like a legal document where we just have to give them 30 days if we're unhappy.
yeah,
Or if Mark would be unhappy.
yeah, it's legal, it's just an easy get out clause, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's.
okay,
For the most part, it's all pretty normal, I would say. Shane's gonna give me crap for this, but, I don't pay any mobilization in Huxley. That's a huge expense.
How do you not pay that? How do you get it?
he just
Strong
said
on
they're not
that.
gonna pay it.
Oh,
Strong on them. But, and that equates to a lot. I did talk to him about this. I said, dude, all these rates look really good. I talked to Shane, president for the CIT, and I said, all these look really good. Why are you charging mobilization? And he said that they have over 90 contracts and they don't. We're about the only one that doesn't pay mobilization. So, but we did talk and he said that maybe if Mark and I could coordinate like the yearly contract work, that he could see about not charging mobilization. That's nothing in writing. That's a verbal, yeah, we can maybe do that
Yeah,
kind of thing. It's not a guarantee. But that's, also coordinating. That's a lot to coordinate. So
Would you be willing to work on
absolutely,
that?
absolutely. It's not a big deal for me, so.
I lack expertise in this, so AJ, as long as you're good with this, I like the concept of preventative and getting it done. If this gets us a better rate, I just don't know what the good rate is. So AJ, as long as you're saying this is a good rate,
Yeah,
good
it's-
company.
At 5% annually, that's a little bit higher than ours, but. I signed my contract 4 years ago.
times
so
are different,
it's
yeah,
gonna be a lot different now.
so your new one's gonna be a.
Yeah, my next one's gonna be
And he'll charge you double for my.
probably.
Huxley's using CIT.
Yeah,
We have been for 3 or 4 years now, so.
He's up here.
It's a good company, it's a good rate on it.
So
Yeah,
you want a
they're
motion to
nice.
approve?
Yep.
Shane.
So moved.
I don't know who that is,
Second.
but that's an interesting comment in there. All those in favor signify with the sign aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Discussion consideration CIT agreement for pool drain system repair.
Yeah, it's the main drain. It's like put in a sleeve
Tiger Wife.
in the main system underneath the pool.
Before the leak was identified,
Yeah.
I was told.
Yep.
And this will solve that leak.
What was it, 24,000?
So this is,
Well, the sleeves are extremely expensive and they have to, sound like there's a wrinkled portion already in there. There's an issue with what's going on there, so it's more expensive than normal. Right. That's pretty standard other than mobilization. For me, but. Yeah, I don't see anything crazy about it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
The only thing I would say is if we're signing the contract. $550 for each hour. He should be
3 hour
charging
minimum.
$425.
Yeah. Yep.
That would be the
Drops an
only
hour.
recommendation I would say needs changed. If we're signing this contract, it should be $425 per hour for
Okay.
3 hours of
Yeah.
jetback work.
Yep, nice catch.
So that's something.
Because of the agreement.
Yeah,
Because the
we're
price,
signing the agreement. It
Yeah.
should be it.
So that's a dealer agreement.
yeah,
I don't think they'll say anything about that. That
Yeah.
should be.
Good catch.
You said this was a,
If you want to comment here, I think right now, it sounds like the potential lining thing is, was hypothetically engineers say it should last a long time. I know there's some outstanding information on that. At this point, we're obviously not gonna take that on in this year.
I'm 26.
If it's something we want to do in 27, I think we should look at. But I think the whole entire pool discussion needs to be an agenda-based discussion.
But to me, I guess it goes back to what we said about CI. Yeah. That right at this point, we're saying investigate this and bring it forward, and that one side of actually spending the money. If indeed with this 25 grand and we spend 200 grand, we can get another 10 years out of this pool. I'm in. But there had to be some investigation because this guy, the snake oil sailed in the last 6 months. So we need some kind of validation.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the part I'm asking for is, let's see if this thing's real. We can get 10 more years, then it's worthwhile perhaps, but not without knowing. And that's all I'm recommending is as part of the CIP process. We put it in for 27, so we can research after the pool season and potentially do it next spring in the 27.
Yeah, I think that definitely can be something that's researched. I'd like to research a brand new pool as well in that same vein to assess, in the broader discussion and consider what a bonding option would look like to replace the pool. Cause there's lots of things with that pool. You can screen coat that, but like there's no underwater lighting and there won't ever be. Based on what we've been done without rebuilding it, there's just some things with it that the boiler needs to be probably should be in an enclosure, right? Because it sits out in the elements all year round. Just some different things like that. So as the assessment goes, is not only just quick treating it or doing this crete on it, but is it in the right spot? Should it be in a different spot? Is there just a broader discussion about the pool as a whole? I think I would hope that we would include that discussion and see if it's not a popular enough project that the public would support being new.
And it's worth discussion. I guess that
For sure.
That would be part of the comp plan.
And I think that's where I'm at on the whole thing is like $250,000 on it. If the council wants to have them get the information on it, we can, give that direction to Jerry.
Yeah.
And
I guess
now,
that's my notion. Yes, I would like to see this in the CIP plan as a research project, not as a go spray this stuff off.
so unofficially here, you can throw that in there, Jerry. It's kind of
Well, that's
priority.
just me making a suggestion. There's.
Yeah, we got two on the table we got two motions on the table without that at the moment. So let's vote on that. The comments not being brushed off. All those in favor signify with the sign aye to approve that CIT agreement.
All right.
Opposed? Okay, so that's approved. Now, we're going to go into, you heard Craig's comment, so just make note of it and provide some more information. Well, we kind of can't with where we sit right now officially.
Very
But now we need
incognito,
to-
Chad.
We need to move into a closed.
You're very incognito tonight.
Yeah,
They didn't recognize you.
and you hate
No,
stop
it's
signs.
Good.
Thank you guys for being here. For staying for the whole
Are
thing.
you leaving too, Lindsay?
Know it,
Huh?
no.
Yeah, see ya. No, just kidding.
Okay, so we are going to move into,
Make
I'd
a
like-
motion, we move into the closed session.
Second.
second, all those in favor to move into closed session signify with the sign aye. Opposed? Okay, so we're gonna move into a
And
closed session now.